required in the maintenance of standards, especially when it comes to construction. Okay? So we'll have that conversation with the Executive Director of the National Construction Authority, talking about, so they are coming up with a new code of construction, and they want stakeholders and the public to participate in this. And so we'll be asking them, so what do you want us to tell you? See, us guys just want safe buildings.
Yes.
What do you
the
want?
rest.
What do you want us to tell you? What you want us to define safety? So, but anyway, the Executive Director, Engineer Maurice Akech, is a very affable chap, and he will be speaking to us at 7 o'clock. At 8, we look at this whole politics of maneno of UDA, Wheelbarrow Party. Wheelbarrow Party has recently lost one of its greatest campaigners in Western Kenya. What's happening? Where has he gone to? And also we ask ourselves, so now, does that mean that the votes that would have spared William Ruto in the case of impeachment have reduced by one? What does that mean? Does it mean that Western Kenya is now slowly shifting? What is it? Does the movement of one legislator signify anything at all in an entire region that is so wide and vast? And it's Mount Kenya. So not Mount Kenya, Western Kenya. So Didmas Barasa, the MP for Kimilili, will be speaking to us at 8 o'clock. COVID-19 is still doing what it's doing. Yesterday, there was the death of the Nakuru Chief Executive for Health.
Yeah.
This is Mr. Kingori. He passed away. The death was announced by the governor. And it's a very sad story because this is a person who was basically right there in the front line of trying to make sure that Nakuru County is dealing with COVID-19 for its citizens. And now there we go.
Gone.
Yeah.
It did contribute quite some.
Yes.
When it came to that. I spoke to him several times about, what they were trying to do, especially now when we saw during the second wave, and Nakuru was hardest hit. He was quite, concerned and took it quite passionately in terms of how they as a county were going to fight this, and hopefully that other counties then would replicate what they were doing. So it is actually a huge loss. Of course, as a human being, a huge loss, but then also in the fight against COVID-19 for this country, definitely a huge loss as well, because he was contributing quite some to this. He will be sorely missed, and we pray that, the souls of the departed rest in peace.
Indeed. Then also there was the announcement of the death of Lorna Irongo Macharia, who also succumbed to COVID-19. Lorna Irongo is one of the people who have been in the media scene for many, many years. In the 90s, she worked at KTN. She was one of the hosts of a show called Club Kiboko with Jimmy Gath on KTN. Until her death, she was working in the PR industry. She was managing Ginadine Communications. The death of Lorna Irongo also hit hard because many people knew her as a media personality, those who had worked closely with her over the many years. Now we've seen, and this comes just a day after the announcement of the passing of Winnie Mukami, another former NTV anchor, hot on the heels of the death of Robin Jogu, a news editor. So it's media fraternity has really been hit hard in the last couple of days. Many people have lost their loved ones. Many people are crisscrossing the country, not just the city, the country, looking for available bed space.
Yep.
I was speaking to somebody yesterday who was telling me that they've been looking for a bed space for their loved one who had no COVID, but they required hospitalization in
For
an
something
ICU.
else. Yeah.
And they had to move them to, was it Embu?
Good grief.
Yep. 24 hours just going round. Somebody is in need of critical care attention, and they're basically not getting it.
This is not good.
Yeah. What did Mutahi Kagwe say? What is he saying?
Well, quite a number of things, but I think one of the things that has come up very clearly is that he's still asking people to be as careful as possible. I'm trying to look at the exact quote that he made yesterday.
Okay, so
Let's go to that.
as you get it, so yesterday he was speaking about very many other things, and he's saying, all right, guys, jishuge, we need to be very careful. COVID-19 is real. This third wave is strong and powerful. But at the same time, he was also, shifting the spotlight on the counties and said, look, so we are seeing a new surge, and how prepared have the counties been? If the counties received the 5 billion shillings that they were supposed to receive last year, if they were supposed to have set up 300 new extra beds for isolation, where are those beds? If they were supposed to boost their ICU capacity, how well did they do with their ICU capacity
Sure.
with the 5 billion shillings that was sent to the counties?
So what he said exactly was the support county governments were given by the national government is a substantial amount to cover for at least some level of preparedness. So he's asking county governments to show how they used the resources. It is important for counties to show where the 300 beds are, where the intensive care unit beds are. As far as we are concerned, the national government has assisted the counties. So this one, he wasn't mincing his words or making a suggestion. He was very clear and saying that, we did give what we should have given. Where are they?
Yeah,
Some of the
come
same
on.
questions we were asking yesterday, but I think it's a shifting of blame that we are seeing here, and it's very clear that you should actually have been at the forefront when it came to this months ago. This is not a question that you ask in the throes of the third
He
wave.
should not even be asking
shouldn't
that
be asking.
question.
You should be
he
knowing.
is the chair of the National Emergency Response Committee
Committee.
on COVID-19. These are answers that he should be having. Okay? These are answers that he should be giving the public and saying, look, 5 billion shillings was issued to the counties. I've been holding meetings with the chair of the COG. I've been holding meetings with the chair of the health committee of the COG, who sits in my committee. And this is where the money was spent. This is how the money... If there had been issues, he should have been raising those issues earlier and saying, look, counties, you're not doing this, you're not doing the other. Even go and report this to the president saying, Mr. President, I'm getting frustrated because I want to do my job, but these governors who've been elected directly by the people, unlike I, who haven't been elected by anyone, are not doing their job.
Not doing their job.
Yes.
Exactly.
And say, Mr. President, can you call a meeting with the chair of the Council of Governors so that this can be resolved? Mr. Mutai Kagwe coming to ask us now at counties.
How come the counties are not prepared?
Come on. This one, you can shift it. Yes, they need to answer, but also at the same time, I think Taikago has answers to give us. Anyway, how are the numbers looking?
Okay, so numbers are not looking not looking good. 1,130 new COVID-19 cases, what we found in the country yesterday. So now, positivity rate in Kenya is at 22%. So this is definitely much higher than the recommended positivity rate of under 5%, globally accepted rates, right? 12 new deaths in the country yesterday. This takes Kenya's numbers now to 122,040 and unfortunately 2,023 deaths. So we're right in the middle of it, and it seems to be getting hotter and hotter. And look at it. Yesterday was Monday. The pattern that we have seen in the country over the last 1 year has that been coming off the weekend. You get lower numbers on Monday, because then in terms of what they're able to test and what they've been able to report, the numbers are significantly lower coming out of the weekend. But smack on a Monday morning, or rather at the end of a Monday, we still have these high numbers. It'll be interesting to see what the numbers are today and the day after. Of course, you're always hoping that there's a dip, but if the patterns are saying anything, we're likely to see higher numbers as we go into this week. All right. If we're looking at global numbers now, the globe now is bringing out numbers 124,291,478 COVID-19 cases around the world. The United States at 30.5 million. Brazil now at 12 million, surpassed India by about 1 million cases just over the weekend. Now, if we look at the cases, Brazil, again, still taking a hard hit when it comes to COVID-19. Also understanding that in Brazil, a different strain, what they're calling the Brazilian strain, is what now is really, really causing havoc, right? People getting infected, they're begging for the vaccine, finding and asking for ways in which they can protect themselves. A lower number yesterday, significantly, 53,386 new cases. Unfortunately, 1,570 deaths in the country yesterday.
Are Brazilians locking themselves in, or are they saying the government should lock us in?
There's a mix of messaging that's coming out from here. Some are saying, well, we need a lockdown. Others are saying, well, what are we going to do if you lock us down? We need to at least be able to engage in some kind of economic activity. And, there's the pointing of fingers and saying that Bolsonaro did nothing when it came to this, and it's a bit too late in the game to now start instituting lockdowns. What are you going to do? So it's been said that it's half and half. Lock us down, leave us be.
I get that sense that even in this country, because we are very, very, very good at pointing fingers, we are very, very, very good at saying the government is not doing, Uhuru has failed and all. It's a kind of same thing that you see people doing. So you'll find people in very close quarters, close proximity, not wearing masks, forgetting to sanitize as often as possible. Going about their business as if there's nothing, and then you ask them, so why aren't you taking measures? Like Uhuru Bana, he has failed us. Uhuru is just letting political rallies take place, but
where are you?
Where are you?
You attended the said rally.
Yeah. Or even if you haven't gone for a rally, because now you'll say, me, I don't go for political rallies, but here you are in a market sitting there laughing loudly with your mouth wide open with no mask.
Wow.
Okay? And this is, you'll go to any market, you'll find that. Go walk on any part of this city, you will find people who are not basically following any of these measures, but they will blame Uhuru. They will say Uhuru and Raila are attending rallies. They will say everything else about everybody else
except
personal responsibility. Yeah. And then they'll come and say, personal responsibility is not personal responsibility if the government is not doing its job. But start by doing yours. It's the same thing I'm asking about Brazil. So yes, Bolsonaro messed up. But what are the people doing now? With all those deaths, with 2,000 deaths a day, are people not doing anything?
I mean, an average of 2,000 deaths a day in the last 1 month. That is 600,000 people. Sorry, is that 60,000 people? 60,000 people dying in 30 days is a lot of people.
That's a lot. That's a huge number. 6:15. It's Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room. Are you online? Because we are. SpiceFM KE on YouTube, on Facebook and Twitter. Say hello. We'd like to say hello to you as well. Shortly, we'll be looking at the newspaper headlines. Good morning.
24/7 around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM.
Whenever I shop, I simply tap.
At the fuel station, I just tap.
After enjoying my meal, I simply tap.
Everywhere I go, I just tap.
Tap.
Kenyans have discovered the fast, easy, and safe contactless way to pay. You only have to tap using your Absa debit or credit card.
Tap.
Tap. Apply for your contactless Absa card today. Simply SMS the words tap and go to 22268 today. That's Africanacity. That's Absa. Daily and transaction limits along with terms and conditions apply. Absa Bank PLC is regulated by the Central Bank of Kenya.
Are you looking for a plan this Easter holiday? Sarit Your City has got your back. Have a wonderful time with friends and family at Sarit Your City this Easter. Tune in to the Spice Drive with me, Monique, from 3 p.m. every weekday to learn more about what activities Sarit has in store for you. You also stand a chance to win shopping vouchers, and you get to join me on ground on the 2nd of April as I host the Spice Drive on location from Sarit, a city within a city. I can't wait to see you there.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise.
All right, so
You're
cloudy
listening to
conditions, light rain in some parts of Nairobi this morning. We're going to see highs of 26 and lows of 16. It's also raining in Nyeri at 14, highs of 24 and lows of 13. We'll see highs of 27 in Nakuru. Clear conditions, however, at 13. It's also clear in Eldoret at 14, highs of 26 and lows of 14. Mostly cloudy conditions in Kisumu at 19, going to highs of 30 today. 32 will be the high in Kakamega at 16. It's mostly cloudy right now. It's raining in Mombasa at 26, highs of 33 and lows of 26, while it's clear in Malindi at 27, highs of 33 and lows of 26. 18 will be the low in Kampala, which is where it currently is, at mostly cloudy conditions. Mostly clear in Dar es Salaam at 26, highs of 32 today. It's a foggy morning in Johannesburg at 10, highs of 22 and lows of 14, where light rain in Lagos brings in the morning at 26, highs of 30, coming back down to lows of 26. Clear skies in Kinshasa at 23, highs of 31 and lows of 23, or sunny in Beijing at 18 today, quite warm. We'll see highs of 20 and coming back down to lows of 8. It's 1 degree and mostly cloudy in Paris, highs of 14 and lows of 4, where it's clear in London at 5, highs of 13 and lows of 7. New York rings in still Monday night at 8 degrees. It'll come into Tuesday with highs of 15 and lows of 6.
Spice FM. Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4.
After 6, who's online?
Okay, quite a few folks online this morning. Amanda Nya Richmond says, good morning, my people. Good morning, our person. Fikey UG says, good morning, and is chilling in Uganda. Well, good morning to you. Edric Odor Ogutu says, good morning, tuning in from Koru. JF Kennedy Ouma says, good morning. Mark me present from Koriot Nandi County, and that's Leban Tanui Kapte. Beijing is listening, and that's from Master Dan. Robert Mbogo says, good morning, tuned in from Mombasa. And Caleb Olo, tuned in this morning from Tanzania. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, everybody. So, C.T. Muga is away. He's well again, we've got to say. He is well. He's dealing with some personal matters today. Today's proverb: only a fool tests the depth of a river with both feet. Only a fool tests the depth of a river with both feet. I've got a feeling that CT has given us this proverb before. But well, panya paka ameenda. Yeah, mimi ndio panya.
You're the panya.
I am deciding the proverb.
Okay, well done.
Only a fool tests the depth of a river with both feet. I don't know what this guy was. You know, there's a guy who was cleaning this studio just before we came in, and I think he was here with an entire 1,000 liters of sanitizer. Wow.
Yeah.
So as you hear this, me sounding like I'm blocked, I am blocked. By Dezo is blocked.
Your what? Diesel.
By Doze. By Doze is blocked.
Your dose.
Yes, because of this guy who was spraying hand sanitizer.
Everywhere.
All over.
Sheesh.
I feel it in my eyes. All right, let's take a look at the headlines.
Let's do that, shall we? All right. So, quite some. All right. So, civil servants face pay cuts in July. All right. Join the queue. The going gets tough as Salaries and Remuneration Commission announces proposed guidelines aimed at taming the ballooning public wage bill. Under the plan, allowances government employees earn will not exceed 40% of gross pay and will be paid in absolute amounts. So essentially, now that it's biting, folks now will have to bear the brunt of this bite. With everybody else who took pay cuts, right? Okay, so if you look at specific details of the story, it's on page 10. So last year, civil servants pocketed allowances totaling 322 billion shillings, which is enough to build another standard gauge railway from Mombasa to Nairobi without having to take a loan. Now, SRC proposes that maximum allowances government employees earn don't exceed 40% of their gross pay, a huge reduction considering that for some staff, allowances have doubled their pay and in some cases increased it by a factor of 10%. In addition, SRC recommends the allowances and other benefits shall be paid in absolute amounts and not as a percentage of the basic gross salary. So if you're earning, an allowance of 40% of this, now it's going to be 15,000 shillings. That's it. Like if the allowance for X thing is 20,000, that's it. It's not going to be factored as a percentage of something else. So folks are going to take a hit in terms of what they were previously earning. So at the moment, on average, allowances constitute about 48% of gross pay. However, we have institutions that pay as high as 100% or even more in comparison to basic pay. So the disparities are huge when you look at institution to institution. What also that means is that we have caught institutions where the basic salary is just 40% of the total pay.
Yep.
This is according to Lynn Mengich. And she said that the proposed policy changes have been released for public participation and, if approved, will take effect at the beginning of the new financial year in July, in the next 3 months.
Can we go and contribute to this?
Yeah, I'm assuming that public participation is for everybody, right?
Because, okay. So it's true, basically. This is what has been happening in the public service, and this is just playing the game. So your salary is X, but you don't even touch your salary because you're constantly just all over, travel allowance, there's this, the other allowance. So your allowances actually are 3X.
Yes.
And this, as we hear often being said, is what the government did so that it can attract, the best talent from the private sector to come and work for the government. But come on.
We're talking about
even in the private sector, the private sector still retains some of the best talent, and they are not paying this way. If the private sector is not paying this kind of way, where you're saying that your allowances are actually more than your basic pay.
Come on.
What are we using?
People are essentially living and working for these allowances.
Yes.
That's what it is. So in my mind, it's a good thing to actually look at this thing properly. It's not saying that you should expunge allowances completely, but let's be realistic here.
Yeah.
Somebody's taking away 3 times their pay in allowances in a month. It's ridiculous.
And you've had this, in fact, all the way from constitutional commissions as well. You hear people saying in constitutional commissions, I'm in this commission, I don't touch any shilling from my salary, which is about 1 million shillings.
Anyway.
Yeah. It's just all about allowances because there's a vehicle that's been fueled, there's a driver, there's a police escort.
I sit in a meeting, I get something.
Yes, sit in a meeting, there's a sitting allowance for every time you're in a meeting. Your transport is sorted, of course, there's the vehicle, the airtime is sorted, all your bills are paid, and you don't even get to touch your salary. So this has been there, and I hope that Lynn Mengich is actually being honest.
Honest here.
In a pursuit of trying to streamline these things. Let's have an honest conversation because there's going to be serious pushback and it'll take a political turn. This one is going to take a political turn.
It will.
Where you'll see some politics being applied and pressure coming from the top and saying, come on, you can't do this. You really can't do this.
But if you look at the numbers, Eric, you see a rise in expenditure from 263.3 billion shillings, 2015 to 2016, and this has risen to 322.5 billion, 2018-2019. In the span of 2 years, you've increased this expenditure by 100 billion.
Yeah.
So,
have we hired that many more people?
No.
Let's have an honest conversation about this, really as a country, and say, as everybody else is basically struggling to keep the government afloat, those who work in government should also contribute. Now, let's come into the other side of the political side of things. So, the Joint Parliamentary Committee that has been working on a report on the BBI, which is basically a rubber stamping exercise, is now not willing to present its report. Because they're feeling now, surely, are you really saying that the Constitution says that we cannot amend this thing? Are you really saying that the Constitution says that even if we go and say don't pass it, it means nothing? It'll still go to a referendum.
Yes.
Are you really saying that? No.
They've realized this now?
Yeah. So,
Okay.
the joint committees of the National Assembly and Senate, chaired by National Assembly's Justice and Legal Affairs Committee chairperson, that is Muturi Kigano, the MP for Kangema, and the senator for, what's the other county in Kisii, next to Kisii is? Nyamira. The senator for Nyamira, Okongo Mugeni, who chairs the Senate committee equivalent. So they've been co-chairing these sessions. Remember, they were holding public participation where IEBC presented last week. IEBC came up with this whole story of saying, look, any idea of creating new constituencies or creating boundaries, that's the job of the IEBC according to the constitution. Now, the day before yesterday, last week again, we saw the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics going to say, we don't think you should be doing 70 constituencies. We think you should be doing 68. And in fact, there's some constituencies here that you're creating that you're going to create an overrepresentation and others an underrepresentation. So that whole conversation is what the MPs are saying. We should be allowed to open this document to suggest some amendments here and there to the amendment bill, constitution amendment bill. However, the constitution is very clear. The law is clear. That thing, the day it was printed at night and presented before in the presence of President and Raila at KICC, in some cases where Raila appeared to be shocked with some of the things that have been inserted at night. That, the one that went to the IEBC with signatures, sealed.
Why is
If
it
you don't
that
want
is
it to
not
pass.
being made? Why is it that they feigning misunderstanding here? They know very well what it says and what it means. That you will not be able to amend it. That even if you come and you raise all this ruckus from now until next year, sorry, this thing has already gone. Is this not what we were talking about before? Why are they now pretending as though they did not know this today, now? And then now you're raising some kind of dust to say, no, we should actually be able to give our views and then this should go towards some kind of amendment. No.
Yeah. And also, at the same time, this is a conversation that has been had before. Even before that bill was published, there was this whole clamor for, can we have a conversation about this? Can we all sit together and look at this clause by clause and agree and then go and publish the bill and then take it to a referendum? They refused. Since the principles of this BBI refused, my friend, let it go to a referendum. Let's shoot it down. Clearly, as you can see, even the members of parliament are seeing that there are issues that need to be amended. Even the constitutional commissions are saying there are things here that need to be looked at. This thing was flawed ab initio. From the very beginning, BBI was flawed. Kitu.
It came with a stain.
Chalice.
It came with a stain.
Yes.
All right. Speaking about labour pains and labour issues, more labour pain cases on exam day. This year's national examination kicked off with a fair share of its challenges, including a large number of female candidates sitting tests as mothers or giving birth moments before writing their final papers. In a situation that saw sections of some public hospitals turned into exam rooms for some girls. At least 21 girls who sat their first papers yesterday gave birth before the exam period, while others went into labour during exams. Some 1.2 million candidates countrywide are sitting the tests, which were postponed last year due to the COVID-19 outbreak. But what stood out yesterday was the high number of pregnant girls that the standard put conservatively around 200. Authorities blamed the huge number of underage pregnancies and teenage mothers to the long stay at home by learners during the COVID-19 pandemic. In Migori County, Director of Education Elizabeth Otieno said out of the 29,787 candidates who wrote their exams, 108 were pregnant girls. The number included those waiting to sit their KCSC exams next week. So that's one thing that happened yesterday. At the same time, during these exams, we still see that there's still a problem with some of this money that was supposed to come for exams. It has not come in total, and people
it's on page 11 of the Standard.
Thank you. People the likes of Kai Ndimuli are complaining. Yesterday I'd assumed that, this money had gone through and we're all right, seeing as the exams had begun. But not quite, because there's still a deficit. So, looking at the details of this particular story, just a minute, the page has refused to open.
Let me help
there
you.
we
Schools are yet to
Okay.
receive 15 billion capitation money, putting head teachers in a fix over administration of national exams. Feeding candidates and settling debts owed to suppliers is another nightmare the school heads are facing. Some schools had to close earlier than expected because they could no longer sustain all the children. But Education PS Julius Juan said the National Treasury had released 7.5 billion shillings that will be disbursed to schools as soon as possible. It's going. Kahindi Muli, relax.
The money's coming.
Trust your government.
Okay.
Okay? Trust your government. When your government tells you, I will do something, you don't need to keep reminding it after every 2 years. It will do it.
So the ministry had only released 14.6 billion to fund secondary schools and another 4.6 for primary institutions when schools reopen. This, however, is inadequate, Eric.
It's okay. Money will go. 28 minutes to 7. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room. Keep it right here. Let's see what's happening on the roads. If you've got anything to report, please let us know. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Good morning.
Spice FM.
It's getting hot in here.
Oh, everybody steals. It's better a thief who brings something small back. And I say to myself, there's no better thief. A thief is a thief, period.
All those bribes, how much they are getting per year, how much inconvenience they are causing, as much as you call it a small case, it's worth it to be convicted.
The truth is, we are a tribal nation. Because if we were not tribal, and I want to go back to this, you cannot continue walking around with a mug which is clean outside and it's rotten inside.
We have become a Fuliza country. We have mortgaged our country because of debt.
You've got one chef working and the assistant chef wakati anatakana koroge unga nini hayuko.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
All right, this Tuesday morning,
Traffic.
slowly right at Thika Road, start at Muthaiga, head into Ngara, and that's taking some time to get out of there. It's already building up at the SGR, headed out towards Cabanas, and then out towards General Motors. Those are the places that we see some issues this morning. Slowly moving on Jogo Road, out towards Landis Road and into the CBD. We don't have too much drama just yet. We'll have a look at what it looks like in a short while. We can expect that it will build up again some more on Thika Road as we try to get into the city. But we'll look at more details as the sun does come up. But it seems that most folks who are looking to get out early have already done so, but we'll keep an eye on things. For now, let us know if there's a problem in your area. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. That's how you can get in touch with us, or text us on 40127. Let's see how things are going to keep moving this Tuesday morning.
Spice FM, Malindi. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
This is Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room. We're looking at the newspaper headlines. There's an interesting headline that caught my eye on page 23 of the Standard this morning. Why time frame for Jubilee projects has been reviewed. The government has revised the deadlines for its projects in Mount Kenya ahead of the 2022 polls. From the construction of roads to markets, contractors are to complete all their projects in the region by the end of the next financial year on the 30th of June. According to Transport CS James Masharia, some of the major government projects, which include the dualling of the 84 kilometers Kenol, Makutano, Sagana, Marua highway at 30 billion shillings, will be complete by June next year. The CS said the president will personally commission the projects, which are being fast-tracked once they are completed. The reason why we have routinely expected their construction is to ensure that the projects are fast-tracked to the new time frame. The president is also closely monitoring and looking forward to their completion. So, basically, and this is where also Kenha comes in, what they are doing is there are very many projects, road projects. There's now that entire dualling of 84 kilometers from Kenol going all the way past Karatina, creating a dual carriageway. Initially, the contractor had come up with, and Ken had approved this, and the ministry had also approved some time frame that was going to extend some time into eternity. Now, they have decided, okay, because we want Uhuru's legacy in Mount Kenya to be clear, visible, tangible, these things are going to be finished by next year. So what have they done? They're revising all of their timelines. To meet the deadline, the chairman of Kenha, Wangai Ndirango, said they had awarded contracts to several contractors who are simultaneously undertaking the works on the Kenhu-Marua Road. The road will traverse Murang'a, Kirinyaga and Nyeri counties and it is expected to, of course, significantly improve transportation for all these people. He notes that construction of 540 kilometers Mau Mau cluster roads, which was scheduled to be completed by June 2023, will be done by next year, a year ahead of schedule.
So it can be done.
So, what was that?
You could have done it anyway.
That's what I'm wondering.
They
have come up with this ingenious way of subdividing the contracts of the 84-kilometer highway and giving it to different contractors so that they can work on the road at the same time, simultaneously do it faster. Where was his brain at the beginning of the contract?
It's not functioning.
This thing, Mutua said it 7 years ago. He did a 30-kilometer road in a short time, and he said, you have the same plan, give different contractors, let them work at the same time, day and night. So what is this?
Yeah. It sheds light on the fact that, so there you go. That the development agenda could actually be sped up quite some in this country. And it's not as if people don't know what they're supposed to do. They know what they're supposed to do. The wherewithal is there. But for some reason, the will is lacking completely. You can actually get this stuff done in record time, have it finished, and then we move on to the next.
It's not even that in record time. In realistic time. Imagine all these projects could actually have been done and completed in a very, very fast manner. There's a road that starts from the junction to Kitengela, going all the way to the junction to Machakos. That road was commissioned by the president when he started campaigning for the second term in 2017. Up to date, the contractor is still on site. Buying roast maize,
Surveying.
eating roast maize, buying sugarcane by the roadside, eating, whatever the contractor is doing, I don't know, because the road is not yet complete.
Okay.
5 years to do a short stretch of road like that. And there was nothing about, even compensation for land. It's not much.
They didn't need to do anything like that. Just needed to get on with the business.
I
and
have
get it
serious
done.
issues with people at the all these roads organizations and the Ministry of Health and Transport, Infrastructure and Housing. Engineers are supposed to be giving solutions. The engineers that we have in this ministry and in these organizations are problems.
Or asleep.
They give us problems. Engineering is a discipline of solutions.
Terrible, man.
Okay, we'll look for another headline. I'm done with that for now.
So that you can stop being annoyed. Okay, so let's look at regional story, shall we? Unfortunately, it's a COVID story. Congo presidential candidate dies from COVID on poll day. The leading opposition presidential candidate in Congo-Brazzaville died hours after polls closed after becoming seriously ill with COVID-19. Guy Brice Parfait Kolela died in a medical plane as he was being evacuated to France, according to his campaign director. Hours before, the 61-year-old had appeared in a video shared on social media where he removed his oxygen mask and told his supporters that he was fighting death. He urged them to vote in Sunday's poll. However, the electoral law doesn't annul the election if one of the candidates dies. Mr. Kolela, who was diabetic, was one of 6 candidates running against President Sassou Nguesso, 77, who has been in power since 1979, except for a 5-year period where losing the election in 1992. Congo-Brazzaville has officially recorded more than 9,000 cases of COVID-19 and 130 deaths. Kolela had missed his final campaign event on Friday after saying a day earlier that he feared he had malaria, according to the Associated Press. He was admitted to a private hospital in the capital, Brazzaville, and was later confirmed that he had COVID-19. So speaking in French from his hospital bed, Kolela said, "My dear compatriots, I am in trouble. I am fighting death. However, I ask you to stand up and vote for change. I would not have fought for nothing."
So what happens if they vote for him?
If they vote for him and he happens to win? Oh, he's not going to rule in...
The law in Kenya says if presidential candidate dies before an election, then we postpone that election.
Well,
the law in Congo Brazzaville says you go ahead. So what happens?
yeah, it's straight because the law says that the election will not be annulled, right?
What happens
it would be
if they
interesting
vote
to know
for
what happens because
Monsieur Kolela,
unfortunately he is dead now.
elected posthumously?
Yeah, well, let's see. It'll be very interesting to see that. But here, another case of COVID-19 affecting someone and it doesn't choose circumstances. At any point, you could go.
Yeah, it can happen at any time. Amos Kimunya is in trouble.
Oh no, again? Why?
Amos Kimunya is the leader of the majority in the National Assembly. And there are some members of the National Assembly who are in the majority, who are especially not those Tanga people, Kieleweke people, who are feeling that Amos Kimunya is not the right man for this job. So they're saying that he's too high-handed in pushing the government agenda. He does not, involve people nicely. He doesn't talk to people and convince them and make them aware this is the government agenda and this is how we're going to go about it. So they're saying, Akwende. Nyeri Town MP Wambogo Ngunjiri yesterday confirmed that there is disquiet, but he said there are no plans to remove Kimunya, but he needs to step up. The government agenda in the House is not clear and there's lack of leadership. Another MP from Eastern, who did not want to be named, said they are pushing for nothing short of Kimunya's ouster. He should go like yesterday. President Kenyatta will not achieve anything with him at the helm of the House leadership. An MP allied to Keleweke, who claims to speak on behalf of the silent majority, told the nation. Kimunya did not reply to calls and messages by the nation, but Deputy Majority Whip Maoka Maore and Kanini Kega and Ngunjiri and Gadhani wa Mushamba distanced themselves from claims that despite being named as architects of the petition to force Kimunya out. So umezikia. Hivyo ndio kunaenda. Kanini Kega, if you see his name there, remember when there was a push to get the Garissa Town MP out, what's his name? Duale. As the leader of majority. Kanini Kega was right there.
Front and center.
Angling for this job. Now Kanini Kega is here. He has denied it, but he's here. He's being mentioned and he's being associated with this move to get Kimunya must go.
Seems like he's ouster extraordinaire. When
Kimunya
it comes to people
must
going,
go.
He knows how to
Kanini
beat
Kega?
the drum.
Eh?
He's the guy you call. He's the one you call. He's like the town crier. Come and tell people this person must go at the
But
front
what
line.
is it that Kimunya is not doing that Edon Duale? Remember Edon Duale, until the issue of punishing the Tanga people, members of the National Assembly did not have an issue
They
with
were very
Edon
happy
Duale.
with him. Very happy with him.
Okay. Edon Duale knew how to see people. And to tell them how the government agenda is being run. Now, maybe Kimunya is not seeing people.
He's not seeing people?
Yeah.
Okay.
His high-handedness, I think he's close-fisted.
That could be an issue.
Yeah, he should.
Can I look at how these COVID, these ones we're talking about, these ICU beds that are being looked for?
Yes.
First of all, they're rare. If you find one, fantastic. Finding one in Nairobi is not going to happen right now. And we know people are going to other counties to find hospital beds, ICU beds. Now, if you do find one, you're going to be charged heftily for it. Private hospitals are demanding deposits of up to 600,000 shillings deposit before admitting COVID-19 patients amid a scramble by the critically ill for the limited intensive care unit beds. 600,000. Somebody is sick today. Before we even talk to you, 600,000 needs to be put on the table. So the inquiries by the nation in various top private and public hospitals expose the frustrations of families that they have to undergo to have their sick relatives admitted as a third wave of the deadly contagious virus sweeps through the country. Following a call to one of the city hospitals to find out how much it would cost to be admitted at the ICU and if there were any available beds, staff transferred us to various departments, but at one point we overheard response that there were only 2 beds available. All right. At Nairobi Hospital, which has a 35-bed facility, a nurse said a deposit of 600,000 shillings was needed before admission to the COVID-19 ICU or the hospital's main ICU. At Kenyatta National Hospital, one would have to part with 200,000 shillings to access the ICU facility. At Mata Hospital, 600,000 shillings deposit is needed to admit a COVID-19 patient at the ICU. For other patients, the amount for high dependency units is 150,000 and 200,000 for for HDU is 150,000, ICU 200,000. But the cost of setting up an ICU also is quite high for you to understand that. A standard ICU room costs between 7 and 8 million shillings. Before the pandemic struck, the country's health system was already limping. Mutai Kagwe said that at the height of the first COVID-19 wave, the ministry was planning to set up 1,000-bed ICU facilities.
Yeah.
I don't know if that has happened. Do you think
1,000 ICU?
He actually did say that. When this all started, he said that the plan of the government was to set up 1,000 ICU beds.
Right.
But he said it.
Right.
Wow.
That story is in The Nation, right? The Standard has page 6 and page 7 of most counties are ill-equipped to battle COVID-19 in the third wave of viral attacks. And the Standard team has basically gone to various counties. They have gone to several counties and they're just saying, so what is happening here? They've gone to a hospital in Kangundo Level 4 Hospital in Machakos County. It's a reflection of the country's public health system. When the Standard visited the health facility on Sunday, patients recounted how they are forced to buy PPEs like gloves and masks if they are to be attended to, yet these are supposed to be provided by the county government. I came here yesterday, but there were no gloves or masks. I bought gloves worth 2,400 and diclofenac that had been prescribed for me, according to Janice Monzia. In this place, if you have no money, no one will attend to you. A nurse at the facility, Mwende Mutua, said the hospital reported 6 COVID-19 cases on Saturday alone. Since isolation beds were almost full, they could only accommodate 3. This is just one hospital. They've gone to various other facilities around the country. Busia Chief Executive Officer for Health, Isaac Omeri, saying the county has 4 functional ICU beds and that they are expecting 1 more from Ampath. In Kakamega County, 6 operational ICU beds out of the available 16, according to County Health Chief Executive Collins Malemba. However, Vihiga is one of the counties which is unable to operationalize a 5-bed ICU due to lack of oxygen. So the person in charge here says, what we're trying to do is we want to do by April, we want to have oxygen, according to Chief County Health Executive Amos Kutwa. They want it to be ready by next month. They want oxygen for the ICU to be ready in April. We are in March.
And
people are coming to the hospital
and we need it today.
So this is a story that's been given proper coverage. Reports by Graham Kajilwa, Benson Mnyamwezi, Robert Amalemba, Nathan Ochunge, Bernard Lusigi, Weldon Kipkemboi, Mercy Kahenda, Gilbert Kimutai, James Munyeki, Boniface Gekandi, Forrest Mutembei, Edward Kosut. This is a very good job done by Mercy Korir, the editor in charge of health and science. Let's go around the country. Let's find out, are we ready? And that's why it starts with this is the intro to this story. Kenyans are on their own as they face the third wave of COVID-19 pandemic.
You will find for yourself.
Enough said.
Yeah.
11 minutes to 7. Let's take a break. And let's remind you, today, Tuesday the 23rd, is the day the Kenya Savannah Classic kicks off at the Current Country Club. So the Kenya Savannah Classic is the second dose of the European tour that's taking place back-to-back in the country. Last week and into the weekend on Sunday, where the Magical Kenya Open. From today until Friday the 26th, we have the Kenya Savannah Classic. This also, you'll not be able to attend and be a spectator, but you can view and follow every proceeding through every hole on KTN News and the Standard digital platforms. Supported by Safaricom, Wilken Wireless, Sports, Arts and Social Development Fund, the Current Country Club, Johnny Walker, Keringet and Hemingways.
Spice FM.
Hey, it's getting hot in here. The media has greatly contributed to the moral rot that we experience in this country.
I remember a senior politician telling me, point blank, nobody steals in the field, it's stolen in the granary. So my friend, if you're going to win an election, jipange kwa granary.
I think we are suffering from Stockholm Syndrome. Our violator and abuser is also our redeemer in our mind.
The whole political class, the whole political institution is rotten. It is based on ideals that cannot progress our country forward.
This is the Situation Room. The only way to start your day. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Conversation.
Yes. Okay, so here it is. Okay. So, police officers have a case to answer in the murder of a British aristocrat, according to a court. 3 police officers and their retired colleagues who have been charged with the murder of Alexander Monson, the son of a British aristocrat, Lord Nicholas Monson, have a case to answer, a court has ruled. Justice Eric Ogola said he was satisfied that the prosecution had made a sufficient case against Mr. John Pamba, Mr. Naftali Chege, Mr. Charles Wangombe Munyiri, and Mr. Ishmael Baraka Bulima to put on their defense. The accused have a responsibility to tell this court what took place on that fateful night, according to Justice Ogola at the High Court in Mombasa. He noted that the case hinges strongly on the doctrine of circumstantial evidence, that an analysis of the evidence revealed that Monson was arrested in good health. The court noted that the evidence also pointed to the accused as the people who had handled him. Through their lawyers, the accused told the court that they will give their evidence on oath. So there's a gentleman, unfortunately, who had passed, and apparently these 4 gentlemen then now who are in the dock had some kind of dealing with this British aristocrat. He's royalty and such. And the court now says, actually, because of your, dealings, or rather because of your association with him the day before and the day of his death, then definitely there's a case to answer here, and we're not going to let you go just like that. The matter borders on national integrity of our criminal justice system, and the deceased was not a Kenyan citizen. So here, there's a case to prove and ask. This man died within our borders. Somebody had association with him. We are going to find out exactly what has happened. According to the charge sheet, the accused jointly with others not before the court murdered Mr. Alexander Monson on the 19th of May, 2012. So this is a case that is at least 10 years, about 10 years old. And now it's coming out that the defense hearing is set for the 10th and 11th of May. So maybe justice will be served in this 10-year-old case.
Wow. Wow. Okay. All the best to them in court. State agency blunders to cost taxpayers over 1 trillion shillings in piling suits. So this one looks at a House committee that has raised the red flag on increased cases of negligence and illegal conduct of public officials in the line of duty, leading to hefty awards by courts. One morning in July 2015, this story begins. Anthony Muremi left his house for work as usual, but Muremi, who worked as a supermarket attendant in Donholm, did not get to his workstation. He was arrested, locked up at the Kayole police station for the next 8 days. On the 9th day, Muremi and another young man were arraigned at the Makadara law courts and charged with robbery with violence. According to court papers, police conducted an identification parade, and although the robbery victim failed to positively identify Muremi, he was charged with a crime nonetheless. Now, Muremi went to court to seek redress. Okay, so what happened is, unable to raise 1 million shillings bond with a surety, he remained in police custody for 2 years. The case was eventually withdrawn after the prosecution failed to get another adjournment. So the prosecution kept looking for adjournments because they have nothing on Muremi. No positive identification by the victim, nothing.
Just wasting time generally.
And he spent so long. So Muremi went to court to seek redress, and in June last year, 5 years after his ordeal began, the court found the police had violated his rights and awarded him 5 million shillings in general and punitive damages. This is just one of numerous legal suits where the Kenyan taxpayer is paying billions of shillings for the negligence, oversight, illegal conduct of public officials. And this is just one, and it's true. There are very many cases like this where somebody was supposed to have done their job. They didn't do their job. Somebody took them to court. They are awarded.
Yeah.
Now, because this is a public officer, it's the state coffers that are going to pay this compensation.
Exactly.
Left, right, and center, piling to the tune of 1 trillion shillings in lawsuits.
My God.
That case that you're just talking about there, those police officers that have been taken to court.
Same thing.
Did you do your job when you're supposed to do your job? You didn't do your job when you're supposed to. So now
It'll catch up with you 10 years later even.
Yes.
Right? Okay, so we can't finish without knowing that, or rather looking at the stories. We saw the state funeral for John Pombe Magufuli yesterday. He's been praised for his stand on foreign aid, amongst many other things. In attendance were very many dignitaries, amongst them President Uhuru Kenyatta. And he eulogized the late Tanzanian president as the man who demonstrated the possibility that Africa can succeed without having to depend on foreign aid. A distinguished Pan-African approach. My words are not coming out this morning. Adopted by the departed leader. So Kenyatta had joined 9 other African leaders in Tanzania's administrative capital of Dodoma for Dr. Magufuli's requiem mass ahead of his burial on the 26th, which is Thursday, at his home in Chato. The leaders mourned Magufuli, nicknamed the bulldozer, for pushing through projects which he worked when he worked as Minister for Works, as a true Pan-Africanist who believed in the larger vision of the continent and the ability of its people to shape their destiny. President Kenyatta, in his tribute, who is also the current EAC chairman, said Magufuli had shown that the continent can keep its head held high and finance most of its projects from revenues collected from within without depending on foreigners, whose aid often comes with many conditions.
That's a very good thing for the president to note.
But he also
The president of Kenya noted that the president of Tanzania did not borrow. And he was able to sustain his
in these
economy.
times that we are in, I believe that it's a hefty lesson, don't you think?
We also must take note of what happened. So when the president started reading his speech, it was a few minutes to 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
Then the adhan in a mosque that is not even in this stadium, outside the stadium, started doing his thing, the call for prayers. The president has been praised, roundly praised, for pausing to allow the adhan to happen, and then he continued. I was watching it, and I think that is what we call a happy accident in terms of the president receiving praise. When I was looking at it, so you could hear the adhan starting, faint, and then at some point now it became loud, and the president was speaking, and the president just stopped talking, and he was looking. And I think the president was wondering, so is that happening in the stadium? Is that happening behind me? Is that part of the program? What am I supposed to do now? Am I supposed to stop? Is that somebody who is disrupting this this session? It happened so well.
The pause moment from him.
He was just waiting there like, okay, so what do I do now? It happened. So now he's received a lot of praise that he honored
the moment.
Very good. Good
so
things
you were saying
come.
he didn't know what he was doing, but he received praise for it, and then we take it.
I can tell you, the president did not hear the adhan and decide it's time for adhan.
Let me honor this.
Let me stop.
No,
he was pausing because he wanted to find out
what's going on.
Then he realized, it's adhan, and I've already paused, so let me just allow it to go on for a bit.
The stars of praise aligned for him, for sure.
Good things come to good people.
Good things come to those who pause.
to those who pause. Keep it right here. In the next hour, we'll have a conversation with the National Construction Authority. So there's a building code that has been published, a draft that has been published, and they'd like your input on this. We'll be speaking with the Executive Director of the National Construction Authority. Good morning, it's 7 o'clock.
Spice up your life. Traffic.
All right, looks like it's picked up quite some in Nairobi. Traffic this morning on Tuesday on Thika Road, as expected, is built up quite some as you're trying to get to the Muthaiga Square this morning. Coming off of Kiambu Road, it's actually moving quite smoothly today. Very, very impressive, and we don't have those issues as we normally do then trying to join the Super Thika Highway. All right, Jogo Road, what's it looking like? It's quite slow as you're trying to get into the CBD. Getting onto Landis Road, then as you approach is a bit slow, but it's not too crazy right now. So we don't have crazy traffic as such. The construction is what is going to bring us some problems on Mombasa Road today. Every day it seems that there's a new part of the road that now needs to be sorted out, and it looks like that's going to slow folks down some. Okay, yeah, so there's some parts of Jogo Road that's bumper to bumper, but it's moving in most parts as you get out. Industrial area, we still see the Likoni Lunga area being worked on, so that slows down things just a tad. The Likoni interchange then, as you're trying to get onto or off of Mombasa Road, also is slow. So let's take a look in a short while. Hope you didn't carry cash to the ferry. They're not accepting it. It's just M-Pesa, and it will make your journey a lot smoother and quicker as you get onto the ferries at Ntongwe and Likoni Channel. All right, let's look at other parts of the country in a bit. Spice FM KE, get in touch should you need to. Text as well on 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
2.5 minutes after 7 o'clock. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. It is The Situation Room. Thank you very much for tuning in. This is the second hour of the show. We are live until 10 a.m. C.T. Muga is not in today. He's well. He's handling some personal matters of his own national importance.
The world is his and his is the world.
Yes. But we're here and we continue the show. Today's proverb: only a fool tests the depth of a river with both feet. Only a fool tests the depth of the river with both feet. That one is self-explanatory. If you don't get this one, we are talking about you. It's okay. You are the one we are referring to here. All right, so let's have a conversation about construction. So there's the National Construction Authority, and this National Construction Authority has been in office for a couple of years now. It was established on the back of what was happening, especially when we saw that there was serious cracks. Right.
You're on a roll today, man. Well
serious
done.
cracks in the building in a building sector. And so the National Construction Authority was established so that it can come and be like the one that harmonizes operations in this sector. Make sure that everybody who is working in this sector is registered, has certification. Make sure that, starting from your plumber should have an NCA
certificate
recognition, right?
Right.
And then making sure that also they are able to go around the country inspecting all the construction that's taking place, whether it be a house, whether it be a commercial building, whatever. They're doing all this. Now, the things that make the NCA work, and that is regulating the building sector, include the building code, the physical planning laws, and other related statutes. The current building code dates back to, I want to give you a time to guess. What do you guess? The year the current building code was...
1973.
1973. That's how many years ago?
40 plus, I guess.
It's 1968.
That's close.
So that outdated building code of 1968 governing the building sector is inadequate. It lacks effective and objective controls, enforcement mechanisms, making it a major impediment to the development of the built environment. Now, that is a very obvious thing. So the National Construction Authority has now come up with a draft building code. And as is expected, they're now subjecting it to public participation. So public is you and I, Ndu. We live in houses. So first of all, you need to understand what is the building code. Does it say that your house should have cement?
Built in a certain way with only using certain kinds of material.
Yes.
Only a certain person with a certain kind of license can then come and make amendments to this home or should have been involved in building it in the first place. What?
That's what we want to understand. Engineer Maurice Akech is the Executive Director of the National Construction Authority. He joins us on the line. Engineer, good morning.
Good Good morning. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Good to have you again on the show.
Thank you.
So let's just start from that point. The building code, what is it?
Thank you very much for this opportunity. And I think it's always good to engage wananchi. And I want to say good morning to everyone, every Kenyan from where they are listening. And we want to thank SpiceFM for giving us this opportunity to continue engaging members of the public on matters of the building code. Briefly, building code, its development and enforcement is currently anchored under the National Construction Authority Act, number 41 of 2011. And basically, National Construction Authority's mandate is to oversee and coordinate the development of the construction industry. So around sometimes last year, March 2020, through the business amendment laws, NC Act was amended to anchor the building code. And thereafter, of course, we started the process of finalization of this very, very important document. So basically, the building code that's currently under development is meant to replace the building code that is current, which you've rightfully talked about, the 1968 building code, which is now outdated. It's no longer responsive to the needs of the industry. And now we are in the process of the new document that will ensure that we focus on safety, we focus on innovation, and the quality of the built environment. That's basically the focus of the current building code, which is under development. So this is an inclusive document which has been developed with the input of all the stakeholders in the construction industry, including the affiliates. When I talk about the affiliates, everyone who is affected by the building is basically part of this particular process. And we are now in the process of, to meet our constitutional requirements of stakeholder engagement to ensure that the views of every other mwananchi who is going to be affected by this particular document, once it is published and takes the legal effect, will have their views being incorporated. So the building code is talking about this basically the entire life cycle of the building. What do I mean? From where the design starts, when you think about a building before you see anything, up to where demolition occurs, when the building that is currently standing has to be demolished. Because sometimes when a building stands, it has outlived its usefulness, it has to be removed from where it is. So it talks about the design, talks about site preparation, talks about construction, it talks about maintenance, and it talks about the demolition, which is the last aspect of it, or construction in reverse, if you may call it. And all this must be done in a safe manner. So it has all the parts you think about. I think when you started, you indicated rightfully with a very good quote that only a fool tests the depth of the river with his or her 2 feet, meaning that even this building code is going to define how you do things, and only a fool is going to do a building without emphasizing or complying with the description in the building code. Okay. The departure of this current code and the one we are proposing and a draft is basically performance-based. Performance-based means that previously it was more prescriptive. If you wanted to do a wall, for instance, you would talk of the wall must be made of this stone and must look like this. But this one talks about what the wall must do, not what it must be made of. That gives an aspect of innovation. So basically it has 24 parts, which describes basically what you see around the building, how it is going to be made, how the spaces around it will be, how the windows will look like, how the new building will not affect the existing building nearby. And it also recognizes all the other laws that interact with the built environment. That's the Physical Planning and Land Use Act, the environmental laws, the safety, health and safety laws, all the laws you think about, the Road Act laws and so on and so forth. So that's basically what this code is all about.
Okay, what are the guarantees that this code, even as it's now being given this rebirth, what are the guarantees that it's going to be followed? Because today, I mean, one of the things that, even as we put here and we look at here, is that the danger that is posed to the lives of many when buildings are erected without following the right code of conduct. Several incidents of building failures and collapses have led to death and loss of innocent lives and property. That's a story that we hear in, year out. Building here collapses, a school collapses. It happens over and over again. What are the guarantees now with this new code it will actually be followed? And as a follow-up to that, we still see that, certain buildings that are not supposed to go up, for example, in a particular area, still go up because somebody has the power of the purse and they're able to bribe somebody, just putting it out there. How then can we be sure that this code coming in now is going to take care of all of these things?
All right, we're not getting you, Engineer Ketch. Let's try and get him back. There you go.
Okay, there you are.
We had lost you for a bit.
Oh yeah, I heard all the questions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So I was trying to say that one of the tenets or the aspects of enhanced compliance with any regulations or any laws or any standards is simplicity.
Mm-hmm.
The aspect of being well understood, and the actors being aware of all the requirements of the code. So what we are emphasizing at the moment is how we have divided this code for ease of simplicity in a manner that every actor that needs to use the code will know which part of the code to work with. For instance, the designer would look at the component that deals with the design. The construction professional or the team or the fundi or the contractor would actually know where to deal with. So in a nutshell, you'll be able to pick which part that is relevant with your scope, and you implement accordingly. Now, in terms of overall coordination and oversight, NCA will be at the pivotal role where we will be conducting quality assurance checks, and this time we'll be checking against this particular code whether you complied with what is described. So that simplicity and that having a very clear coordination and implementation framework will ensure that at least the enforcement and the compliance with the code will be guaranteed. So we are also relying on the aspect of the input of every other stakeholder, so that if you've given your input, for instance, it's like you're already getting yourself aware that this is what I will need to be doing once the code comes into being. There is also something I need to say, that this code will be implemented at two levels, at national level and county level. At county level, it will be adaptive, where each county with the uniqueness in terms of the operational environment will adapt it at the county assembly level, so that some of those issues that are unique to the county, especially the ones which are material-based or have a unique environmental context to the county that where it's being implemented, will now adopt it to conform with the county. That will bring some semblance of acceptance, will bring some semblance of ease of implementation, and we believe this will enhance compliance. And of course, as you say, as you ask, will ensure that enforcement is guaranteed. So that's how we see it from where we come from. Now, this code for information is also going to address the issues of safety in terms of, we talk about quality, and this code is going to enhance quality that will now guarantee that every building is done in a safe, and the safety here has got to do with both the structural, the use, and the functionality of the building. Even you can have a building, but it's a sick building. You cannot, when you go inside there, it's not easily habitable. Yeah. It's not comfortable. So all these are we are talking about. The code addresses how all this will be done. Even the comfort of how you climb your stairs. You may assume that somebody is building one floor or maybe a ground and plus one, and you may assume that stairs is automatic. No, it may not be automatic. Somebody may forget. So the code even describes that you need a staircase, and when the staircase is put, you must put certain those steps. We call them the goings and the rises. Must be in a way that they are comfortable for use. And if it's beyond 5 floors, then you must install a lift, and so on and so forth. So these are things that are taken for granted, but they have been included, including the issue of the use by those who are able differently, or we call the PWDs, the people living with disabilities.
So
They
what
also
happens,
have
Maurice, if I can jump in
recognition.
here and ask you, Maurice,
Yes,
what
yes,
happens
yes,
then
yes.
to those buildings that currently are not aligned to this code and what will come about? Very interesting that you talk about buildings without lifts, for example. Let's just talk about Nairobi. We have buildings that have 10, 9, 8 floors, no lifts. People are going to have to climb those stairs to get to where they're going, whether it's an office building, whether it's a residential building. So if this new code comes into effect, what are we saying for those existing buildings, for example, that will not follow the tenets of this code? What happens to them?
Well, very interesting question and observation. We know that the buildings as they are at the moment have also been put up based on the code of 1968, which, as I say, is now outlived its usefulness. Now, when this code comes into effect, there will be an aspect of audit that needs to be carried out using the new code against the existing buildings and assess the extent to which those existing buildings conform to the code. Now, for the ones which maybe do not meet the current code requirements, there could be an aspect of what we call regularization, or to relook at them in terms of what needs to be done to ensure that they conform with the code. There could be categories of those audits where the audit may find adverse departure or a great departure from what we expect to see in the new code against the existing building. Now, those will have to be a conversation. That will have to be a conversation that will have to happen between the building owners and the regulators. And when I talk about regulators, I talk about the county at the county level, which is actually in charge of development control in terms of physical planning. And then we have the National Construction Authority, which is basically in terms of oversighting and coordinating the construction. So in a nutshell, an audit will have to be carried out alongside the current code or the new code once it's published against those existing buildings to have an understanding of the status of those buildings and then come up with a recommendation on the way forward.
You know, over a couple of years back, there was a great push and in the National Assembly, and actually it even went to some point where it became law, where buildings were then required, landlords are required to ensure that their buildings are disability compliant. Am I correct?
Yes.
So how does this new code address that need? Because clearly very many buildings were constructed a long time ago. They had no issue of disability compliance. Now, how does this make sure that every new building that comes in will have factored in the issue of those who are not able to climb stairs, for example?
Well, so there has been an effort to assess the existing buildings and ensure that they actually made to conform with the disability or access, universal access as we call it, so that at least every other building user, you and me and anybody else, is able to use the building in a safe and comfortable manner. Now, in an effort to comply with that act, I think we were part of the team that actually was called to Parliament to go and give a status update on how buildings have complied. So this is an effort, a coordinated and collaborative effort between the national government, the county, and all the actors, so that at the point of approval, especially for the new buildings, there is that effort now to ensure that all the universal access requirements are incorporated in the design. But for the new buildings, for the existing buildings, as you rightfully ask, the effort is to ensure that what needs to be put in place to ensure that there is that uniform universal access, to the extent that in the lift, if they need to be upgraded to accommodate the braille, need to be upgraded to accommodate the ramps for the external internal access of the building, and they are having ramps around the buildings as far as possible. And all these efforts are still work in progress.
Another issue would be on safety. So especially if you look at firefighting, so you'll have, I'm sure you look at very many buildings that are required to have fire hydrants and have fire safety mechanisms put in place. But the water, where does this fire hydrant connect for these buildings so that then the sprinklers will come on in case of fire? So what does NCA do to make sure that this actually works? It's not just something we've ticked a box that there's going to be sprinklers in this building, but actually there's access to water.
Very good. In fact, if you look at the proposed draft code, which is currently under finalization, Part 21 talks about fire safety and fire installations in a building. And it clearly says that a building shall be designed and constructed to ensure that in case of a fire, one, there is guarantee for safe evacuation. Two, there is a limit, there must be a limit to spread the fire. It must not spread beyond a certain limit. And then the building must remain stable when the fire is on. And this particular design, as is indicated here, must be done by a qualified mechanical engineer who should be able to design and certify that the fire system is robust, is integral, and is well provided. Again, it talks about lifts to be provided, and then the rescue the fire escape staircase, and so on and so forth. So you think about fire safety, this is well provided. Now, when you talk about the fire extinguisher or the fire suppression mechanism, if I may call it that way, it depends on what is the cause of the fire. For instance, there are many. There will be many mediums or mechanisms to use. For instance, you may use water, and that will require design for a hydrant or a hose reel. You will need a sprinkler. Sometimes you may need carbon dioxide or a gas to extinguish the fire, and so on and so forth. So there will be a design for the water storage for that building fire extinguisher system. There will be a design for any other means that will be conforming to the fire that may occur in that particular building. And this will depend also on the use of the building. If you talk about domestic building, of course, mostly it will be water, which is the basis for extinguishing the fire. But if you talk about buildings that are equipment-based, you may not use water because water may spoil the equipment. So you may use other dry means like air or carbon dioxide and so on and so forth, and other gases that may be used for extinguishing the fire. So all these are provided for in the current or in the proposed code.
You're going to have to forgive me for being a little bit pessimistic, but just looking at practices currently and also in the past of how they've been. Obviously, now we are going to a place, especially from this code, that then is going to demand and require global standards in terms of construction, and whether it has to do with construction, whether it has to do with safety, looking at something that will be accepted across board. But we've also always had these perennial stories of people then who will pay a friend who's a structural engineer, for example, who then would be tasked with the responsibility of making sure that this construction is up to scratch. But this person happens to be their friend, and they can pass off a few shillings under the table to make sure that an eye is closed to whatever misfunction is happening. Will this code, or rather how will this code put a plug in these kinds of practices, which is rife across the sector today?
And as you answer that, let's also take this one caller who's Muigai calling from Kahawa Sukari. Muigai, good morning.
Good morning, Latif, Du, and the engineer.
Good morning.
Engineer,
yeah, so I have a
Muigai says good morning to you.
Good morning. Muigai.
Yeah. So, and I want to borrow from what Latif said much earlier before you came to the show, about engineering being a very disciplined area, with no room for wastage and so on. So my question is this: I know one of the challenges you would raise today is that you have challenges with resources, limited resources. But when I am doing my small construction, I see the NCA guy coming, I see the county guys coming. I see, if it's in an estate, I see the local guys coming, NEMA coming. I mean, that is not the most optimal way of working. I know there are many regulations that are guiding each of these functions, but I thought this was an opportune time, especially when you're doing some of these changes of these regulations, to create synergy and not work in silos. So I don't know what your comment to that would be.
That's a good one. Let's hear from the engineer. Engineer Ketch.
Well, a very good question in terms of speaking to the issue of coordination. That's from Muigai. But let me start from the issue of unethical, which has been raised, an ethical issue, where, in my view, this code is meant to bring sanity across board. And one of the things we look forward to is the responsibility aspect. Now, when this code is finally published and the implementation is ongoing, one of the things we'll expect from all the actors is the aspect of ethics. And good ethics demands that you do the right thing at the right time, all the time. Because you may not know, but these shortcuts you are taking, or these corners you are cutting, are the ones that may also affect you or someone very close to you in the very near future. So it's upon us to do the right thing at the right time and act responsibly. So as a developer or as an investor, when you look for an engineer and you want just the stamp without focusing on what actually needs to be done the right way, then already there's something you are doing wrong, even you as an individual. So it is only right that we do the right thing responsibly and make your stamp, ensure that your stamp adds value to whatever you're doing. So if an investor, you look for an engineer, make sure you engage responsibly, professionally, so that you get the right thing. At the end of the day, you're paying. I mean, even if you're not paying, you are offered to give your services. I mean, so that's offer it professionally, what training you've been given. That is now the preaching I want to give for those who will be engaging as far as this is concerned. The other issue that has been raised by Muigai is the issue of, fatigue, where today is NCA, tomorrow it is the county government, after another day it's another agency, and so on and so forth. So in an effort to minimize this fatigue, we are moving towards multi-agency approach, where we know we are acting towards one industry for the sake of safety of the built environment. So we, as a coordinated, as a national construction authority whose role is to oversee and coordinate the development construction industry, we are now reaching out to all the actors so that we act jointly as a multi-agency team or approach, so that when we do these intersections, we do in a coordinated manner. And even if we don't go together, whenever information we come across, if it's not compliant, then we report back to the relevant agency for the aspects that is not compliant, so that the action can be taken. So this one-stop joint inspection or reporting mechanism is what will now remove that fatigue, so that at least people can feel that semblance of working together for the sake of the sanity of the industry.
And finally, Engineer Ketch, as people are listening in this morning, the various stakeholders, I can imagine the architects, engineers of various kinds, electricians, contractors, plumbers, and all those may know how to reach you. But the rest of the public and somebody would want to contribute to this development of the building code, how can they participate?
Very good question. So at the beginning of this stakeholder engagement, that's around the first week of February, we actually, after we received this document from the Attorney General's office through the ministry, which is the Ministry of Transport, Infrastructure, Housing, Urban Development, Public Works, we put this particular document in the National Construction Authority website, and we also sent out sounders in terms of Twitter, Facebook, and we now started, we also had a public advertisement to inform the public that now they can read this document, which is in the website. It's quite a voluminous document, 356 pages, with several articles or paragraphs. So this is where wananchi are expected to engage, and we've also given an email address there for feedback. And at the same time, we have our numbers, or online numbers, or switchboard numbers, which someone can use to call. But most importantly is the email, which is also in the website there, info@nca.go.ke, which is a very good channel for reaching out to us. And in fact, I want to appreciate all the other stakeholders who have been able to, using the same approach, write memorandums or written memorandums and write back to us, which we have been able to receive. And we have been using those ones to improve on the document so that whatever comes out will be an all-inclusive stakeholder contributed document that will meet their objectives, their needs, and their desires for the sake of the development of the construction industry.
Asante sana. Engineer Morris Akech is the
other. Remorse is not taught in any school. Manners is something you get from your mother. You don't get it from your political party.
Why are we so unfocused as a country? Why are we spending money and resources? Yet we have real challenges in this country.
This coronavirus pandemic should teach us one thing, that universal healthcare is critical. Because at this point, whether you have a medical card,
The weather with Spice FM.
Right, so this morning in Nairobi, still looking at light rain on the outskirts of the city. Highs of 26 today and lows of 16. Nyeri, light rain at 15, highs of 24 and lows of 13. Partly sunny conditions in Nakuru at 14, highs of 27 and lows of 13. Eldoret is sunny at 13, highs of 26 and lows of 14. Cloudy conditions in Kisumu at 21, highs of 31 and lows of 19. Kakamega is mostly cloudy at 15, highs of 33 today. It's also going to get warm in Mombasa. Light rain right now at 27, going to highs of 33. 33 will also be the high in Malindi, where it's sunny at 27. 27 will be the high in Kampala today. It's mostly cloudy right now at 19. Mostly sunny conditions at 25 in Dar es Salaam. It'll go to highs of 32. 22 will be the high in Johannesburg, which is mostly cloudy this morning at 11. Light rain in Lagos at 24, going to highs of 30 today. It's clear in Kinshasa at 23, highs of 31 and lows of 23.
Are you ready? Okay.
Spice FM.
Not so crazy on most of the roads today. We know the schools have closed, so this has contributed significantly to less traffic that we see. Langata Road is building up a little bit as you're trying to get to the Timor roundabout. Not a bumper-to-bumper situation, so it's not too crazy this morning. Thika Road, as you're trying to get out into the CBD, it's slow, but not too bad. Kiambu Road moving very, very well today. Not too much of an issue. Okay, so Mombasa Road from town, it's very tight in both directions today, in and outbound. There is where we see issues today. Everywhere else looks all right. Talk to us on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Should you need to, if you get stuck somewhere, you find a good route that anybody can use this morning, let us know. Text us as well, 40127.
Spice FM. Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM. Nairobi.
It is the Situation Room. We are live on Spice FM. Nyeri 90.9, Malindi 97.7, 96.7 in Eldoret, 96.0 in Nakuru, Kisumu 102.5, Mombasa is 87.9, and Nairobi is 94.4. We're also live on KTN Home, and we are live online. Spice FM KE, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. So we're going to have a conversation with Didbas Barasa, the MP for Kimilili, in the next hour from 8 o'clock. And as we prepare to have that conversation with him, let's look at what's happening in Parliament. So first, the headline in the Standard today is Uhuru Raila allies surprise BBI move. A new clamour by a House team populated by allies of Uhuru and Raila to amend the BBI bill has raised the heat over what has been dubbed Parliament's ceremonial role. So basically, BBI, the Constitution Amendment Bill 2020 was published, and it was taken to the... It was supposed to have been taken to the people. It was published.
Yes.
a BBI task force was established, and they were given the job of going around the country collecting signatures. Constitutional requirement is 1 million signatures. They collected 4.
No biggie.
Yes, 4 million signatures. IEBC verified and confirmed that these are actual details of registered voters in the Republic. And therefore, IEBC passed this on, as is required of them by the Constitution, to the 47 counties to discuss this. They were only supposed to get at least 24 of the 47 counties approving. How many approved?
41. 41, yes.
2.
42.
Yes.
I was close. All right.
Some even got to a point now where they're like, there's no point of us debating this thing. Just forget it. So anyway, a majority of the county assemblies approved the bill. And as they were discussing it, they were not discussing it with a view to amending it. You're not supposed to amend this bill at the county assembly. You're just supposed to look at it, agree with it, and say that, yes, we can amend the constitution this way, or say, no, we do not want to amend the constitution this way. So those that passed said, yes, nobody touched even a full stop or a comma in that document. Next step was to go to both houses of parliament. And that's where it is at right now. So both 2 houses of parliament have this joint sitting of the committees that are in charge of justice and legal affairs. In the National Assembly and in the Senate, they are doing joint sittings. The last week they were holding what they were calling public participation, and this is just seeking the views, just like was happening in the county assemblies. Seeking the views of various stakeholders in the public on the proposals of this constitutional amendment bill. Some people came. IEBC chairman Wafula Chebukati and his team went there and they said, among the things that we're talking about is the role of the IEBC in determination of constituency boundaries and civic boundaries. That is our job. Now, we understand from this thing that you have already created some 70 constituencies. Now, surely, we feel that would be unconstitutional. We have also seen the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics saying, from our data and the way we're looking at it and the division of these 70 constituencies, some things are not done right. Some counties should have had more constituencies than others. And in fact, we recommend 6. Anyway, various stakeholders went to the National Assembly and they had various views. Now, the members of this parliamentary committee are thinking, now, surely, we have listened to the people. We have heard what the people are saying. So what are we going to tell Parliament? Pass this thing? Despite the fact that people have come up with various solutions, or reject this thing? Can't we amend this thing? So that's where the headline comes up. Uhuru Raila allies in a surprise BBI move where they're trying to find a way in which they can amend the Constitution Amendment Bill.
So is
and
it
they are
that
not supposed to. They have no powers under the Constitution.
And do they not understand this? This is the question that a lot of people were asking.
Muturi
up until this
Kigano
point.
is a lawyer, is a senior lawyer. He understands. When we talk about Constitution, Muturi Kigano knows the Constitution.
So why the clamor?
Senior Counsel Okongo Omogeni, Senior Counsel Okongo Omogeni, the chair of the Senate Committee, understands
that you cannot amend.
Yes.
Which, so now for me, it is very clear that they know they cannot amend. If anything, there's political rubber-rousing that's going on here. Because then somebody wants to be heard on some level. Somebody wants to be able to, back things up into a corner and say, well, hold on. Let's just raise a little bit of dust here. The reasons as to why we can't amend, can those be brought up again? Can you tell us why we can't amend? I think that some things that we see issue with, that we can raise issue with. People have been raising these issues for the last 9 months and be talking about the same things for which you want to come and amend today. You know very well that you can't. And so for me, there's a hidden agenda here clearly. That something else is what you're seeking. You're not necessarily seeking for powers to then bring up your considerations and then have them amended. That's not necessarily what you're doing. But there's something else that's hidden here that you're trying to bring out. By the time you're saying that you're looking for certain things to be done, despite having a largely ceremonial role in a popular initiative, MPs have stalled the tabling of a committee report on the BBI. They want the leeway to make changes in the BBI, knowing full well that they can't. You know that you can't. The way this document and this initiative was designed from the first place is that, yes, you will take it out. People can air their views, but that's just where it's going to end. You will air them and they will be aired and they will be aired. That is it. In terms of anything being done as a result of the airing of these views, forget about it. It's not going to happen. So out of the blue now you decide that you want to be able to air. Where have you been? On what planet have you been existing for the last 9 months? It's not going to happen, which is why I'm saying it is beyond just having their views aired. It is beyond saying we want to amend and document and this, that, or the other thing. Is there something else that you want? As you see in the movies, the question that they'll ask you, so, okay, what do you really want?
What exactly is happening here? When we were looking at the newspaper review yesterday, which had the story of the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics and its views, City said, and he kept repeating, what's happening? Why now? Why are these views coming up now in the National Assembly now? What's at play here? And clearly you can see this. Even this, there's something at play and you don't know what it is.
It has nothing to do.
It will be revealed at some point because there's absolutely no way that you can tell me that the members of these two parliamentary committees did not know from the very beginning. Of course they know. There's absolutely no way you can tell me that the president and Raila did not know that this is fait accompli. Of course they knew. So what is it that's happening now? What's the game at play here? What are we not being shown that's happening now? Because clearly there's all this talk of, people come and they give their views and then the views say this and the other and the views are different. And this thing has already been published. It's in the Gazette notice. It's in the Gazette.
It's a done deal. It's finished.
It's a bill. It's no longer a draft, Uko. At the point when it was still a draft, when there were very many calls from various sectors, from the religious organizations, from civil society organizations, from trade unions, saying, okay, BBI task force has come up with its report. Can we have a national sitting where we all bring in our views on what we see, and then maybe those views can then be incorporated and included into this? What were we told? That ship has sailed. Forget it. You had your time. That boat has sailed. That's what people were told.
Yes, it's done. You can air
when
your
religious
views, but
organizations,
it's not going to affect anything.
yes, NCCK, Kenya Catholic Bishops Conference, when all those were speaking, when the religious leaders from the Muslim and the Hindu community were speaking, when trade unions were speaking, they were told, zip it, your time is gone. And therefore this thing was not amended to incorporate those emerging views at that point. Now, those same emerging views are coming, and there's a whole talk of, now, can we try and amend? You can't amend, first of all, unless you break the law. But what's exactly is at play here?
There's something you want, because you know what could happen as a result of this is that if you go again where members of parliament are number one representative of the people, this could spiral. It could turn from then a snowball into an entire avalanche. Because the question is, what do you really want? Because you will see divergent views then coming out later that if you're not then given the leeway to alter this thing as you would like, that you will then try to scuttle the process by taking it to the people and saying, you know what, this thing, because we cannot change here and there, it's actually not a good initiative altogether, throw it out. There's a danger that lies therein. And I think there's also the power.
That's a very good danger.
There's a power that is being brought to the table to say, like, you know what, it is at our table and we're saying we want to be able to alter it. And if we can't, perhaps we need to take it back to the people and let them know that this is actually not the best way for you to go. And if that decision then rests in the hand of the people when they go to referendum, then of course it would... there's a bullet in the chamber in terms of destroying this thing. And I think they realize that the power that they have lies in that. But again, if you ask me, their intent is not to alter this thing. There is something else at play here that they either desire or another foothold that they're hoping to gain. And that's why this is being brought up
and they
now.
Parliamentarians?
Yes, they're the ones who say they want to alter. Why now? Why them of all people? Now you say you want to alter. And you'll find that some of them were in this whole foray when we're talking about people want an opportunity to bring in, and some of them would come out and say, actually no, the way it is the way it ought to go. Then suddenly you change. Why do you suddenly realize that you want to change something? There's more than meets the eye, and I think we need to see it for that.
Whatever it is that they are playing at, I'm looking at it also from the other side, that clearly there are very many views that this document should have gone through a third phase of public conversation.
Now,
that call was clear, it was loud, it was repeated, and it was said many, many times. Can we look at this document? We even said it here on this show. Let's have another Bombers moment. Just make it a week or 2 weeks.
Who would it have hurt?
Bring in people from across the country. Let them go to Bomas. Let them have this conversation and this discussion and say, all right, so here is what BBI is. These are constitutional amendment proposals. Let's just deal with the constitutional amendment proposals. What is it that would work? There were many complaints, and what you'd see happening was some backdoor amendments. So the issue of the ombudsman, it was amended slightly. The issue of, the police commission, it was amended slightly.
In as much as I don't see that this is really what these fellows want, even as much as I see that members of parliament are not really interested in amending this thing, it could either pass the way it is or without a change, it really wouldn't bother them. I see that there was a lost opportunity to have those for which their argument really had some merit being heard at the time when they were asking for it. Whether it was religious organizations, whether it was civil society, whether it was even members and some arms of government saying that, you know what, we need to have another look at this thing and allow us the opportunity, and even members of the public, and allow us the opportunity to be involved. And if we find that there are certain suggestions that we want to make, allow it the opportunity for it to at least be discussed in an open plane. Now, this is where you see the importance of such a thing. It can't be something that has been packaged. You tell people, well, here it is. We want your views. In as much as we're going to hear your views, it's not going to affect the end result of this thing whatsoever. Now, with this coming out now, you see the importance of such discourse, of such dialogue, of such observations being brought to the fore. It would have been important to have all of those people heard and have their views taken into consideration.
At that point, it was important to make political scores.
For whom?
It was coming out that Ruto is speaking about a win-win. Oh, let's talk. So anybody who says let's talk is branded a Ruto person, and therefore this is a no. Just from the very beginning, it's no. So when religious organizations and the trade unions and civil society were saying, all right, but there are some things here and there that could be fixed, the conversation was no. Because if you open that door, then you also give this guy some leg.
Which is why, for me, it would have been an authentic process. That anybody who, for something that's going to affect the people, for something that's going to affect the country, for something that's going to affect the way you do business as a government, have as many views as possible. If they want to talk forever, let them talk. So the question is, if you're really for making sure that you mend the country from top to bottom, have as divergent views as possible. Let everybody come and say, take into consideration. It's not easy work, but you've made easy work of it by this is what we think should be. We're not going to take any more views, and it's a closed chapter. Even if you come and talk, it's like fulfilling righteousness.
Yeah.
You come, you talk, and you throw it out the window. It doesn't really matter. But if you really want an authentic initiative that has really taken into consideration the thoughts and the views of the people, then if it's 1 year, have it for 1 year. Let people come and talk and say, this, I think, will be changed. Of course, when it's bordering on the obnoxious and people are just bringing in things for the sake of bringing them in. But views that have some merits, that need to actually be considered and discussed, should not be thrown out of the window. It's unfortunate now that we have the members of parliament coming in now and saying that they want to be able to amend and alter, which I really don't think they do. But it just shows you that it is necessary to have as divergent views as necessary and as possible when you come to something like this that touches at the very heart of a country. It is important to do. And it was thrown out of the window because, you know what, we're gonna waste time, and 2022 is coming up. If we have more views, then we're not going to be able to get it done. I mean, look at something like the IEBC, for example, and how they have the mandate to set new boundaries, and they are saying it needs at least 2 years to do that. If that comes into contention, what have they been told? BBI schedule 6 months. So get it done. What are we doing? Why?
You know, one thing for sure is that no matter what kind of games these two parliamentary committees are doing, or the joint parliamentary committee is doing, they are going to go back to both houses and they will recommend that you pass this thing, and it will be passed. And it doesn't matter whether you pass or not. The referendum is the next step. But what is happening now is something curious, because it's showing that something is afoot. And that is where now you start asking yourself, so what exactly is afoot?
It'll come out.
What exactly are you basically trying to portray here? Are you trying to say that, maybe this will be another conversation, that even a popular initiative, the people's representatives should be able to take in the opinion of the people and amend in future?
Yes.
So that if Citizen Eric came up with a popular initiative and convinced 1 million people to sign up, and that went to the IEBC, and the IEBC went and took it to the 47 county assemblies, that can also be amended at that stage, because that's the danger of it. If, for example, the 24 county assemblies had accepted Ekuru Court's Punguza Mizigo initiative, these guys could not have touched it. It would have gone to a referendum as it was. Maybe there's some politicians who are looking at it and testing the waters and saying, how about just to make sure that in future, somebody does not come with a constitutional amendment that has popular initiative and claw back on all these things that we fixed here. Make sure,
they can, by virtue of the fact that they can.
Yes.
Yeah, by virtue
make
of the fact
sure
that,
that we shall have the final say, even if you, the people, want something. We are your lords. Well, your representatives. Well, your bosses. Well, we shall have the final say. Yes.
Look, I think there are examples of where it is done and where it is practiced as such, that truly the people do have a say. And that all of those views are taken into consideration and it's tossed up into a basket. You take the mean average of all of that and say, all right, we compromise here, we take off a little bit here, and we add some here. That is what you do when you're working to make sure that everybody, at least the majority of the views, are heard and considered. But right now what you have is something that was the idea of a select group of people. And from the very beginning, whether your views were taken into consideration or not, that is what you're going to have to take. Look at it for what it is. We've come up with this thing. We've told you to tell us what you think. We've taken what you think and tossed it out the window. And we've given you this thing again.
That's it.
Yeah. Is there anything else? No, that's what it is. That's what it is.
Take
now,
it.
MPs are saying what people have been saying for the last 10 months. They are saying what others have been saying. Give us an opportunity to give our views.
Yes.
We think this will work a little better in this way.
We can amend it here and there. The sponsors of this bill, and we know them, the president and the prime minister, former prime minister, knew very well that one of the options that they had was to take this thing through parliament, so it becomes a parliamentary initiative, and then it goes to a referendum. They did not want it. Why? Because they did not want MPs to amend.
They knew from the very beginning that they did not want
They
MPs,
did
the
not-
makers of the law, to amend
Uhuru
this thing
and
in the
Raila
first
did not
place.
want MPs to touch anything in this document.
So then could you also say that because it went the way of popular initiative, they knew very well that because there's no lawmaking mechanism in a popular initiative as such, you can basically present something to the people the way it is and let them know that we're bringing this thing to you. We've already doctored it, quote unquote, the way in which we want it to be. By virtue of popular initiative, you can tell us yes, no.
Yes.
But you will take it as it is. You will not change it. You will either say yes to it or you will say no to
That's
it.
a very definite answer.
Yeah.
It's a very that was a game plan. The game plan was, here is the document. Okay? Now, the only thing we are going to campaign over is for you guys to pass it.
Yes. It's for you
Not
to
having
pass it.
other conversations in between. Oh,
Just say yes
I don't
or
know,
no.
Elgeyo Marakwet County wants to do that. No. Pass it.
Wholesome.
Pass it.
Take it.
Take it as
Or-
it is.
yeah.
Or reject it as it is. And we do not want you to reject it. It's 5 minutes to 8 o'clock. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. It is the Situation Room. We'll also be opening up the phone lines for you to participate. We're looking at the shenanigans in the National Assembly and the Senate, where MPs are now looking at, is it possible really to look at how we can incorporate the views that have been brought by, right-standing members of the society with regards to the Constitution Amendment Bill 2020 that is seeking to amend the Constitution in the forthcoming referendum? Can we maybe somehow incorporate their views? The Constitution says you shouldn't. But anyway, time for a break on KTN Home. 5 minutes to 8. Keep it right here. We'll be back shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
So as it
Mornings
stands,
done right.
the Parliament, that is the National Assembly and the Senate, should basically do its vote, play its dance with this particular bill. And then it goes to the president, and then it goes to the IEBC, and the IEBC subjects it to a referendum in a few weeks' time or months' time. And then the people decide yes or no to this. It just points back to that whole question that we have been talking about here. Did this document go through proper public participation? The validation meetings that were held by the IEBC team, not IEBC, the BBI team around the country were basically political rallies. The Kisumu one, the one in Mombasa, in Kirinyaga, in Kitui, in Garissa. They were just political rallies. They were supposed to have been validation meetings where people sit, bring in stakeholders, sit and let people go through the document. If it's things that touch on the youth, there's youth interest groups. Things that touch on traders, there's business interest groups. All those are here together and they're discussing the document and saying, maybe we can do this and the other. And the task force team is there taking the notes. And then they can go back and make the amendments. That did not happen. No. It was just, see, the Eastern Kenya Declaration, the Nyanza Declaration.
It was a declaration of the position from the very beginning, and anybody who came from the public then was not going to be privy to any kind of decision-making or any kind of altering decision. It was not going to happen, and I think it was very clear from the beginning what the intention was, that we bring it to you, let you know, this is what we've come up with, it's good for you. It's like the parent who comes and says, eat your vegetables, it's good for you. There's no two ways about it. So it's either you eat or you starve.
And you don't starve in my house.
So you eat.
So you eat, right? So it just brings those questions and asks you if the people who are saying Linda Katiba are saying Linda Katiba, if there are people who are saying, wait, this thing, we do not have enough time to engage with the document. We need to have enough time to engage with the document. If those questions are even rearing their ugly head in Parliament, what should that tell the president? And what should that tell Raila? And what should that tell the people who are really, really advocating for the BBI? Does the opinion of the people really matter?
You were just a pawn in this game, my friend.
That's it, huh?
Use you to get to the queen.
Okay. In the next hour, we want to talk about the politics of political parties and especially Western Kenya, what's happening there. We are scheduled to have a conversation with Didmas Barasa, the MP for Kimberley. So the man's phone is still off. Maybe he's in a meeting or prayers or having breakfast or there was no power in the house, so he has not charged his phone. But hopefully we'll be able to get him. Keep it right here. That conversation continues, but we'll open up the phone lines as well. So what is happening, the UDA? What is happening? So UDA has decided we are not going to have a candidate in a forthcoming by-election in Juja. Why? Okay. What's happening to Western Kenya and Western Kenya politics? Good morning, it's 8 o'clock.
Spice up your life. 102.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
Okay, Thika Road getting into the CBD this morning, a bit slow, especially as you get to Ngara and then out towards the Globe Cinema overpass. Wangari Maathai Road looking pretty good. You can use that as well. Coming off Limuru Road, just past the village market, it's a bit slow. Then getting past the Aga Khan Hospital should be all right, though. Again, you can use Wangari Maathai Road to get into the CBD. It's a lot quicker using that as an option. You will not get stuck in a bumper-to-bumper situation. It's moving slowly along Langata Road as you get towards Bagadi Way or then out towards Nyayo Stadium. Uhuru Highway, however, all the way through to Westlands, quite slow, bumper to bumper in some parts, but then it moves as you get through. Mombasa Road in and outbound, we still have some problems today, very slow, especially outbound towards Bellevue. And then out towards the Nyeri Stadium roundabout, we're going to have to take a look at that and see how that continues this morning. The southern bypass, not looking too bad. You get stuck right around the area as you come past the Lekoni interchange. But after that, you should be all right. Okay, guys? SpiceFM KE, that's how you can talk to us. Let us know on Twitter or text on 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
It is 2.5 minutes after 8 o'clock. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. Thank you very much for tuning in to SpiceFM, KTN Home, and following us online. C.T. Muga is away today. He is well. He is handling one or two things. Mawili matatu pale kisha atarejea.
Wow.
Today's proverb: only a fool tests the depth of a river with both feet. Only a fool tests the depth of a river with both feet.
Yeah.
And they were therefore not very foolish. No, they were not foolish at all when they were testing the depth of the river, like the members of parliament. They're sato in.
Just a little
Can we
bit.
amend this thing?
Let's see how
It's
far we
hot.
can push this.
Get out. Another one. Maybe we can try and see if we just push through and say, remove the entire National Police Service Commission and create a new mongrel of a commission, and let's see. And then they got the kind of feedback, oops, no, that one does not work. Let's see, maybe we can create an ombudsman who has a seat in the Judicial Service Commission, who does this and the other. No, let's try and amend that. Only a fool
Puts both
tests
feet in.
the depth of the water of the river with both feet. So, page 8 of the Standard this morning is basically looking at what has been happening in the last couple of weeks politically. There was a by-election in Machakos County the other day. Senatorial by-election. Several political parties had their candidates there. Maendeleo Chap Chap had a candidate. Wiper had a candidate. UDA, this is the United Democratic Alliance, the Wilbaro Party, had a candidate. Just a few hours to the election, Maendeleo Chap Chap candidate withdrew. So it left this very serious battle between Wiper and the UDA. It is instrumental to note that the leader of UDA is the former senator of Machakos County, Johnson Muthama. They had a candidate. The Wiper candidate was the former spouse of the current leader of UDA, who is the former senator of Machakos County. And her name is Agnes Kavindu. So, the results were announced, and Agnes Kavindu had scored beautifully well, more than the other candidates, and she was declared the winner of this particular party, this particular by-election. So UDA suffered another defeat there. UDA had candidates in the other by-elections. Matungu, they had a candidate in Makueni, they had a candidate in London Ward, in Nakuru County, they had a candidate in Kisii, they had a candidate. Yeah. They've had candidates everywhere in the last couple of by-elections. The only one, the London seat. Following that whole issue of what happened in Western Kenya, despite all the effort by the political parties, and we saw the Ford Kenya candidate and the ANC candidate winning the two by-elections for the parliamentary seats in Western Kenya, we've started seeing some shift in movement. Kimilili MP Didbas Barasa, who is one of those who've been very, very vocal, championing the hustler narrative and the hustler nation, has recently now taken a back seat. He addressed the press conference at his home of the weekend, and he said he would henceforth seek to prioritize interests of the Luhya community over those of Tanga Tanga. If interests of the community supersede those of my Tanga Tanga faction, I will support those of the community.
So is there a change?
Henceforth.
Yes.
Tanga will come number 2. Number 1 will be community.
Community. Is this different from what?
If Tanga appears to be the one that is appearing, to have a lot of sway, I will still go to community. Community. So what's happening?
Chickens are coming home to roost. For tribe and community. Is that what have we been saying all this time? Is that people still have a bearing or leaning towards where they're from, towards where their community speaks the loudest. And this is what we're hearing now. I mean, and then looking at Western Kenya for the longest time, there's always been this call for really what is the decision coming out of Western Kenya? For whom is your allegiance being played out to here all the time? Who? Are you going to stand behind one Mudavadi? Are you going to come together as a block and then throw your support behind one Raila Odinga? What is it going to be, Luya Nation? Where are we looking at here? Over and over again, the question has been. But down here we have somebody who's saying, you know what? At the end of the day, whether we choose to throw our support behind somebody or whether we choose to pick somebody of our own, we are coming home to call it for the community. When Muhisa Kitui put out his name for the presidency, what was the first question that people asked him? What have you done in your backyard? Who then will throw their support
Can you get the Luya vote?
Yeah. Do you even have your community support when it comes to that? And I think more and more, and I don't think he's going to be the last one here. That more and more it's going to be that, okay, hold on a minute. I've been running around trying to show support for a faction of a party. But what is it that my people actually want? For me to show support as to where I actually come from and throw ourselves into the limelight politically as a force to be reckoned with once and for all. And I think that's what he's saying here. It would be great if he could say it for himself right now and say the reasoning behind what you did or these sentiments that you've put out here today. Are you actually saying that all this that you've been doing for the last 1.5 years has been a waste of time? Or that you really didn't believe in it? Or that some kind of revelation has come to you where you realize, hold on, this doesn't matter. What matters is where you're from and the contribution you make for your community.
As Citi keeps saying all the time, politicians are politicians. A politician's greatest interest is self-interest. If the politician sits and sees that this is going to serve my self-interest better, then this is where they're going to go. If they feel that the writing is on the wall and the writing tells them that this is the way, this is the place that I'm going to benefit, then this is the place to
be. Or
this
if you see the way in which the waves are going.
Yes.
If you see the way in which the waves are going, you see that the ocean is going in a particular sway, and you say, hold on a minute. If I follow this sway, I could essentially drown, and nobody will remember me anymore. So why don't I go in the opposite direction right now? Or at least go the way in which the waves seem to be friendly to the people who are buoying on them. That is the direction I'm going to take. For sure, there's nothing that happens void of self-interest. It's everybody saying, political expediency, where will I be tomorrow? If I go in this direction, it's very clear that actually I might be swallowed up and nobody will ever remember me. So now is the time to make a move. So whether it puts a pin in everything that I've said or any action that I have come up with before, it doesn't matter. I'm looking towards tomorrow.
It's the future.
So there could be here that people are thinking this whole UDA wave, this movement, this alliance, this friendship with the deputy president, all this time actually might be leading me down a hole. So before I start getting deeper and deeper into this hole, let me make a move that will be safe at the very least. And now you're almost often safe at home, aren't you?
You see, there's nothing that any of these politicians is doing that hasn't been done before by other politicians. It's about defecting. When a politician is defecting, even those that are in Jubilee who are openly campaigning and supporting UDA, what is it that they're doing? They're just defecting. They have defected from Jubilee. They have gone to UDA. They defected from KANU. They went to URP and TNA. They have defected from ODM. They've gone to ODMK, which became Wiper. It's defection. So they're just playing the same political game that they always play, and this is looking at, okay, so where am I going to align? And this brings me to the conversation that we were having with the Secretary General of Jubilee, Raphael Tuju, last week, where he said, you know what, political parties in Kenya are not, the way we've been saying, they are owned by individuals. It's like Actually, the political parties in Kenya are owned by tribes.
Mm.
This Wiper, yes, the leader is Kalonzo Musyoka, yes, but the people of Ukambani are the ones behind Kalonzo Musyoka's party. So Wiper is majorly an Ukambani party. Of course, we know that the chairman of Wiper is from Matuga constituency in Kwale County. The deputy leader of Wiper is from Garissa constituency in Garissa County. We know all those things. Yeah. The other one, the deputy chairman, is the senator from Makueni County. Yes. Kamba own Wiper. Lawyers own ANC. If you go to ODM, Luos own ODM. This is it. So this man called Idbas Barasa, who has two parties that are owned by his tribe and he's not in any of those. He's supporting another one. Maybe he looked at it and so,
Hold on a minute.
people are not willing to drop these two vehicles yet. People are not willing yet to drop Ford Kenya and to drop ANC. So let me start backtracking, finding my way back. I'll start by saying, I'm championing the conversation about our community. A photo will emerge here and there with him and Musalia Mudavadi.
No biggie.
Yeah, he was passing there because we were discussing matters that touch on the community, not necessarily the party.
Yeah. Well, you can't ignore it, You can't ignore the possibility of what I know you would like to ignore and say, okay, well, it could be that I'm joining the party or that, But at the end of the day, I do feel yes. And then for me, anybody who follows these fellows, right, follows them with that kind of almost sycophant followership that we see bordering on the sycophancy, then you also ask yourself hard-pressed questions now and say, so what were you following? If they could drop it all in a moment and go to the other side really quickly, what were you following? And so for me, then pushes back to the ideals that people of Kenya actually should be following, not an individual. Because guess what? This individual that you say you're following all this time and you say that it's them who is going to bring the promised land, guess what? They've just dropped the ball. So now you're left with your ball and your finger up your nose. What happens moving forward? This person, everything that they have been saying has dropped it. It's gone. So what were you following? So that's, I think, the call here is to really look at some of these issues and say, okay, then people actually should not follow individuals, but should follow issues and ideals and ideologies. That those are what you should be pushing for. So that even if somebody drops you, you're not left wondering, so now what happens? Those who followed this individual for yonks and said, okay, what it is that he's offering, this one I'm buying.
Yeah.
And then he drops it all in a moment and says, actually, I'm not there anymore. I'm going off in this direction. Where does that leave you? So I've always said that it should be issue-based. We should be following the issues. We should be following the ideologies. Those are what we actually should be following. Because then now you save yourself from this breakup syndrome when this individual now has decided that they're not going in the direction in which they said they were. And I think, again, the call is very clear. What do Kenyans want? Not who. What do Kenyans want? But then the who comes in terms of then who is going to be able to deliver it. But you're still following the what. You should always be following the what and not the who. So guess what? When something like this happens, it doesn't become news. And it doesn't matter. Because you're still following the ideal and the issue, not the individual.
But also, look at it the other way around, though, Ndu. Look at, for example, this Kimilili MP, Didbas Barasa, who was supposed to have on air right now. We are so far unable to raise him. We hope that he's well. He says that he is no longer going to be there, front, right, and center, championing UDA and the Hustler Nation and the Wheelbarrow movement. He is going to be championing Luya unity and matters that affect his community. Okay? This could be an indication that the man is finally listening to his people. That despite, if you look at how those by-elections went in those two constituencies, where Ford Kenya won and ANC won, despite all the effort that had been made by ODM, by UDA to campaign for those two seats, people still went for ANC and Ford Kenya. That it was very clear now to the leaders from the region that, you know what, our people are very determined this time that they are going to support their own political parties. This time round, Luhya community is actually going to support its own political parties. And that's what he's hearing, and that's why he's like, okay, I better listen. He's probably listening to the people.
Is he listening to the people because
the people seem to know what they want?
No, but are people actually listening to people because they say, okay, this is what folks are saying, and we should actually be in tune with what the people are saying to be able to get the country moving forward? Or are they listening to the people because it's clear that if they don't, then they're out of the running completely? Those are totally different things.
They're not different.
I don't think that any defection that you'll see is because the people have said, actually, you know what? It's time that we look at the tribal nation and say it is necessary for us to go according to
how are those
tribe
two
wants.
different?
Because it is purely for you. It's not about what the people truly feel. It is purely for you. If they hadn't said it,
but those two can happen at the same time.
Yeah, but if they hadn't said it, you wouldn't move.
Of course.
If they hadn't said it, you wouldn't move. So you're there for yourself.
You listen to the people and you hear what the people say. That's number one. And therefore you make that decision because you still want to be the servant of the people.
No,
you
because you realize
people.
that you'll be out of the political limelight if you
course.
don't make that move. It is nothing to do with the people and it's a farce, if you ask me. You're only making the move because you realize, hold on a minute, this is the direction these people are going. If I don't toe the line, I'm out.
But
I'm
that's
out
it.
of the running. It has nothing to do with their
but
needs
when
and desires.
when you're campaigning for leadership, that you've got to listen. What is it that the people want? Then you come to them with that message of, I understand. Our understanding of the brief. You write your understanding of the brief. How we shall execute this brief, our approach and the methodology. And then they give you the job.
Continue
That's
to tell
exactly
people
what
they
you do
want
when you're
to-
campaigning.
Yes, when you're campaigning, but it's not the truth, unfortunately, in many of these cases, because a situation is going to arise tomorrow that will make you move, and you will move just again the way that you did now. And it's clear.
If the people move, you move.
Because of you, not because of what they want. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
It's not about what they want. It's about you.
It's those two are not different. That's why I'm getting stuck, because you are campaigning to represent them. Okay? Now, because you want to be their representative, you've got to listen to them. You can't come there and say, oh, no. You see, for me, I don't believe that you're really... No, you've got to listen. What are people saying? Are people saying this loudly enough? Do people seem completely convinced and speaking with one voice on this particular matter? Then I better listen. So he's listening to people.
For his own selfish purposes.
Yes. Just like the people are doing it for their own selfish...
but at the end of the day, you're there to lead them. You're there to lead them. You're there to lead them.
To deliver them where they want to go. You can't be telling them that you want to take them across River Jordan and when they want to turn back to Egypt. If they overwhelmingly say, we want to go back to the watermelons in the Pharaoh's land,
then you'll be out of the running.
Yes.
Then you'll be out of the running. But that's what I'm saying now. That, here you are and thinking, actually, you know what? The people said, if not... that the people said, if you're not going this way, we're not going to bring you back into power. And you're thinking, you see, he has actually listened to us and he actually cares about us. And this is what I'm saying. He doesn't. He's only doing it because if he doesn't, he realizes that he will be out tomorrow.
So who does he
He
care
doesn't
about?
really. Himself.
And how does that himself
Most politicians,
translate
it's
to?
himself. You and you. You and you. In most cases, you say to yourself, hold on a minute. I will not be in the running in 2022 or 2027 or 2032 if I don't do this now. So it's not really about the people and what they care. Surely along the line, we'll pick up some good fruits here. We'll make sure that this or that or the other thing is done to show them that we really are concerned about them. But at the end of the day, it's you. So that you can continue earning. So you continue being in the political limelight. You really think...
It's the nature of the game.
This is by the way... Unfortunately, and that's the unfortunate thing.
Global. It's the nature of the game.
Be it global, be it local. It's unfortunate.
It's not unfortunate, really, because the person to actually take up this position, they've got to have incentive. What's in it for me? All right? And so you go in there, and the people, by the time they're electing you, they also have to look at what's in it for us. Are those two in it aligned? Once they're aligned, you get in. The moment they stop aligning, you're out. Raphael Tuju told us his in it was one. The people's in it,
something totally different.
They told him, who told you we wanted hospitals? Who told you we wanted those roads? Right? They voted him out. It did not matter. what he had done. Let's take a break at this point, and then when we come out of this break, we'll take your calls. Now, we want to ask you about the politics of Western Kenya and what we are seeing. Didmas Barasa, the MP for Kimilili, says that he wants to take a bit of a backseat in campaigns for the wheelbarrow movement and the Tanga issues, and he wants to concentrate a lot more on, politics of Western Kenya, participating in what the people want. Is he reading the signs from the recent by-elections in Western Kenya, where UDA, despite all its effort, was not able to clinch any of the 2 seats or even come out strong? There's also the headline today. Is UDA's loss in these several by-elections an indication that UDA may not be as popular as it hoped? That maybe it needs a little bit more time to actually go around the country and popularize its agenda? 0719-012-600. We'll hear from you shortly. Let's see what's happening on the roads.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. 24/7, around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM.
Have you seen them? Am I live?
Yes, it's a very nice outfit, I must say. Good
Thank
job.
you. Asante sana.
The compliment is well received.
Good morning and thank you. Evan Wasingishi was asking me what channel is Spice FM.
96.7. Tell them that, right?
Yes, now they know.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Pleasure to have
you.
What
a beautiful studio, my friend.
I've been to other radio stations, but I've never seen anything like this.
Thank you. And it's very nice to be in a modern studio. Absolutely brilliant.
And I have to say, it's a very cool ambiance here in your radio room. Just for our listeners, I think it is below zero in this room here. Very Swiss temperatures.
The weather
Right,
with Spice
it's 18
FM.
degrees and cloudy in some parts of Nairobi. A bit of a sprinkle here and there. Highs of 26 and lows of 16. Highs of 24 in Nyeri, where it's also raining at 16. 16 is the lucky number in Nakuru as well. It's partly sunny here. Highs of 27 and lows of 13. It's 15 degrees and sunny in Eldoret. Highs of 26 and lows of 14. 19 will be the low in Kisumu, where it's mostly cloudy right now at 23. Mostly sunny conditions in Kakamega at 18. Highs of 33 and lows of 15. 33 the high in Mombasa. Light rain at 28. 28 and partly sunny in Malindi. Highs of 33 and lows of 26 today. Mostly sunny conditions in Kampala at 22. Highs of 27 and lows of 18. We're looking at highs of 32 in Dar es Salaam. It's partly sunny at 27. 11 degrees and mostly cloudy in Joburg. 22 the high and lows of 13. It's raining in Lagos still at 24. Highs of 30 and lows of 26. And it's sunny in Kinshasa at 23. Highs of 31. Coming back down to lows of 23. All right, still some traffic on Thika Road this morning, trying to get into the CBD. That's where the major cause of problems is today. It's slow on Jogo Road, but not too bad. It's also coming out of town on Mombasa Road, in and outbound. We have some issues, but this one is pliable, not too much of an issue. Traffic generally this week has slowed down some, and that's a good thing. Let's keep an eye on it. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. If anything does pop up, let us know, or we will be able to get your texts on 40127.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
It's 26 minutes after 8. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room. MP for Kimilili, Didmas Barasa, who's supposed to be with us, is nowhere to be seen. But we continue the conversation. The conversation is around, what's happening politically in the various political parties. Page 8 of the Standard today is actually asking that question. the recent performance of UDA and UDA candidates in the recent by-elections, is it an indication of anything? Can they read anything out of this? Remember, before UDA had actually now, transformed itself from, what was it before, RPP?
PR. Okay.
That one.
PDF something, I can't remember. Okay.
Right. From the previous political party, and then it reshaped itself as UDA. The members of the Tanga wing had actually participated and campaigned for an independent candidate in the by-election in Kwale County. And that candidate had won against strong opposition from an ODM candidate. Then they now went into these other several by-elections with serious oomph. Do these losses in these by-elections jolt Ruto's 2022 game plan? Or do they still keep in the game plan and give them an opportunity to rethink? Do they actually even need to rethink? If you think about it, they won the London seat. If you think about it, in Machakos recently, they got over 9,000 votes in that by-election in Machakos.
Right.
And this was a good showing if you just consider that it's a political party that got Abanas Ngengele of UDA got 19,726 votes against Agnes Kavindu Mudama of 104,352. So yes, Agnes Kavindu, the winner, got 104,000, but UDA got 19,000 votes. Maybe that's what they wanted to see.
If there was any sway.
Can we actually clinch some votes? Getting 19,000, close to 20,000 votes in a by-election, it's a good showing. How many votes did they get in the other by-elections? Maybe that's something that you can just look at and see, all right? Yes. So we are resonating with some people on the ground. The thing now we need to know is maybe we have the right candidate, maybe have the right messaging, maybe have the right tweak here and there. It's an opportunity for them to learn.
Looking at the strategy that they have. Well, look, I don't know that it would be necessarily wise to say that, so we're going to have this new party, whatever you want to call it, party on technicality, and we're going to start fielding candidates to then start to win and start to gain mileage politically. I do think that it's a test. I think that it's a test as a showing for 2022 and the years after that. That is it possible then for you to branch out on your own? So I guess the question then would be, with the recent spate of by-elections that we've seen around the country, is there enough cause for this party called UDA to see that they have enough countrywide appeal for people to say, here is a different option that we can get? Before the individuals who are coming out, then maybe we're under the umbrella of Jubilee, we're under the umbrella of other parties, we're under the influence of other strong political characters, and then did not have an opportunity to shine. Do these recent by-elections necessarily show that the vice president, for example, would have some kind of staying power away from the umbrella of Jubilee? And I believe this is what they're trying to do. Through all of this, it's not necessarily that they would actually win a seat, because I think it would be right now an I don't care. It doesn't matter if we win or not. Can we see that there's enough support for us to then be able to go out on our own in 2022? And I think this is what we're doing right now. I think this is a series of continuous assessments before you come to the big test.
It's testing the waters.
Yes, it is, absolutely. Because, like you said, 20,000 votes is no mean feat, especially in a by-election. The other factors that played out as to why the other got 109,000 votes, I mean, those can also be debated. But I don't necessarily think that they were out to see if that they could necessarily win. I think they're testing the waters to see, in this case, do we jump in with both feet, or do we just put one in? And I think they're getting their answers as they go along, to be able to see, really. I think it would be foolhardy to say that as a result of this election, that then shows what will happen in 2022.
Yes.
And I think there needs to be a series of those to now prove the point.
So the question that we want to ask you, and maybe you can help us to answer this question. Do you think the recent performance of UDA candidates in the recent by-elections is actually an indication that the hustler nation does not have ground, does not have sway? Is it an indication of the hustler nation's strength as a political movement in the country? Do you think the UDA performance in the last by-elections is an indication of the hustler nation's strength or weakness? in the country's political movement and political landscape. We'd like to hear from you, 0719-012-600. If you look at how they performed in the other political parties, in the other by-elections, you could clearly see that, there was a lot of work that was being done. In this by-election, I'm going to read, just sample some of the results. In Matungu by-election, Oscar Peter Nabulindo of ANC got 14,000 votes, followed by David Were with 10,000 votes, David Were of ODM. The number 3 candidate was Alex Wamukoya-Lanya of UDA with 5,500 votes. Winner got 14,000 votes. UDA got 5,500 votes.
Okay.
All right? That's a third of what the other candidate had won. When it comes to in the Kitisekethuki ward, we also saw the same kind of performance of who was winning. Who was winning was Munguti Sebastian, who got 3,000 votes, and a big majority of the winners of the winning there. I think UDA did not have a candidate in this particular by-election. I'm not seeing the result there from Anthony Nzuki of UDA party was declared winner of London ward with 1,700 votes against 1,300 of Jubilee. So you see the performance of the political party was in Huruma, and this is in Uasin Gishu. This was the performance. The performance there was the Jubilee candidate clinched the winner, and UDA did not have a candidate in this particular by-election in Uasin Gishu. So they were also very strategic on where they're going and where they're not going. Kiamokama, the ODM candidate won, and UDA did not have. UDA had a candidate, yes, Nyakeramba Moses Nyandusi, who got 491 votes against the winners, 1,900 votes. Okay, this is. Oh, actually, let me look for UDA again. I think I was looking for a wheelbarrow when I'm seeing an orange. Yeah. Yes. Okay. So the question that we are asking then is: does the performance of UDA in the recent by-elections indicate the strength or weakness of what they're calling the Hustler Nation, the Tanga wing of Jubilee? Maina Karogo in Nyeri, good morning.
Good morning, Eric and Edu.
Good morning, Maina.
I'm very well.
Good to hear from you.
Yeah, thank you. I want to say that UDA... what to do. We all know that to learn is not necessarily to arrive. Because actually we have seen what has happened in Western Kenya. And I think that is why Didmas Balasa has turned away from the UDA, because actually, you have to look where you have come from, what your people are saying.
Yes.
Then you don't want to be drawn by the party, knowing very well if you fall up with the party, you are going to lose. Then there is an issue of Didmas Balasa. Do you know he has got a pending case in... Maybe the guy did the calculation of what was fined and what he got from the Rutos and whatever. Then it was all about the roses. He can decide to and relax and then start up things, then come back later with maybe a new idea. But do you think? My question is that has there ever been a party that has contested once in general election and they won the election?
A party that has contested in a general election and won the election?
Once.
What do you mean once?
None has ever won election once. People are doing the political mathematics here, and Ruto is contesting for the first time in Kenya.
Okay.
To be the president. And here there are men who are surrounding him. So what these people from UDA, and you shall see other people coming out from the UDA because they are fearing of the political messes, because they fear they are going to lose They fear they are going to be fought at all corners. That is the calculation they are doing.
Mm-hmm.
If you ask the Didmas Barasa, actually he can tell you the same. There's always the political nemesis in Kenya, and we have seen people like Mother Karua losing in Kirinyaga, other people who don't sing the tune of those who have big say in Kenya. They all lose. Then there is another thing that they think that the endorsement can silence those who may have hand up thinking that so and so is going to win the election. Then they think that Musalia is going to be endorsed. They have to look at the side of the coin, two sides of the coin. That is.
So it's a long game that they're playing.
It is a long game, and if you don't pray your can't well,
you end up on the losing end.
For supporting somebody whom you are not sure whether he is going to go through, or he is going to opt out and maybe say that even myself, I wanted to support so and so.
Yeah, we hear you.
Politics in Kenya. No wonder you don't know whether Ruto can change his mind.
His mind, sure.
And maybe you have been following him there, and you come to lose even your seat in future.
Yeah, that's very true. Maina, thank you very much. Thank you very much for your contribution this morning.
Okay, thank you too.
Asante sana. So he says, look, what they're doing is they're also just testing the waters. Put one foot in, test the waters, see how this one is going to be taken, see how people are going to react to what you're doing, how people are going to take the game that you're playing, and then you move to the next one. Barak in Ruaka, good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
Very well, thank you.
This is my view as per what you guys are discussing in the show.
Yes.
The UDA and the Didmas Baraza's moves.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, I would say that UDA, some may see UDA as like it's either 6 months old, 2 months old, 3 months old, but that is not the case. Because if you see the guys composing the team, these guys have been there.
Yeah.
For instance, maybe you can just pick one of the guys and you say, this person has been in the field of politics for such long a time.
Yeah.
So it is just a matter of their views. That is 3 months old, but the guys are not 3 months old. So whatever the strength they are putting on, as compared to the results they are getting from the both elections, this is exactly what they're depicting in their major political targets. That is the presidency.
So it's a reflection of their own political strengths.
This is a total reflection of their political strengths from point A to point Z.
Wait, so Barak, are you saying that, for example, Johnson Mudama, therefore, is a weak person in Ukambani, in Machakos, where he hails from? He's the leader of UDA.
Exactly, but I don't just say he's weak. But his point may be that, just in Machakos, because UDA is just 3 months old. It is not. We will compare UDA maturity, or we will compare its durations with the Mudama. Let's say use Mudama. Maybe Mudama is 70 years or 30 years. That is X years of age.
Yeah.
That is his political views, and that is his views of people of Machakos. When he fails to deliver the kind of required seat in Machakos,
yeah,
exactly that is what will be reflected in their major goal, that is presidency or the leadership of this country. So I'm saying, for UDA guys or for UDA team to maybe get their strength or maybe to get the right way to go, they will first of all get to pick on or to peck on their members.
Okay.
like who is a top and who is a real soldier who wants to deliver something. Some guys have just opened a tap there, so when the tap is getting dried up,
they
get they get to get another trap, or maybe somewhere like.
So some are here just to eat.
Yeah, some are there just to eat. Maybe when they are seeing like the tap is drying,
Then they move.
They move to the next one.
Just move to the other time. Like I actually say, this guy who have just moved this recently. Actually, this is the right view. What is his political view or for political impact in western part of Kenya? I think it is less than 5%.
Okay.
And this person is calling a press, telling people that, I'm now taking a break. How do you take a break in politics yet you are a representative?
What are you breaking from? Your job?
You're breaking from. You're a representative. You should be representing people from A to Z, from night to day.
Okay.
Then you're telling people that you're taking a break. So it means even the people's interest, you'll be taking a break for these people's interest.
We hear you. Thank you very much, Barack.
Yeah, this person was maybe just, his tap is dried.
Asante. Odhiambo in Nairobi, good morning.
Good morning, guys. You are running a very competitive program, I must admit.
Your radio, Odhiambo, just lower it.
Sorry?
Your radio in the background.
Oh, sorry. Then let me move away. I'm just making steps away from the radio.
Okay.
Now, are you still having the feedback?
Now we're good now.
Now, you are running a very competitive program, I must say. But before I come to the subject, there is an advert you are running, City, Muga, Researcher, Academic, blah, 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 blah. And then you have Ndu, I don't know why you choose a single name for her. And
she has two names, Ndu Oko.
Oh, okay, fine. Now, this is Ndu, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, blah, 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 blah. And then you have Eric Latif, who chooses to punch up instead of punching up. Now, I don't know whether Ndu fits there by favor of genderization between the two men. Or she is there by competitive applications. Now, if the latter is the case, then I think you need to redesign something to fit her most in the context of, do blah blah, the image of competitive, representation instead of the favored version, which is so much popular, maybe common in Kenya, that women must be favored to fit in some position. Women should just be given opportunity.
Where do you pick that?
Now, let us come to the subject, Mr. Eric.
Let's just punch this one a little bit. We say Ndu is here as a communications expert, a true believer in what is right and pushing for the right thing. Anyway, let's move to the issue today. UDA.
Yes. Now, we are talking about the competitiveness of UDA. I think Kenya is taking a wrong step in terms of our political, vision, because Kenya seems to be going back to the tribal alienations of politics, where I thought we should have run away from. Now, when you look at the way these people are structuring the politics, they are creating new tribal chiefs, where Kalonzo is being supported by all means to make sure that he stands out strong as the Kamba chief. And Mudavadi is a very sober leader, who should have been the most competent person actually to lead this country. But though he's not strong on his own, he needs to be supported. He waits for people to, give me a backing or support me. He needs to come out like Ruto is doing. Now, they are doing the same in Western Province to, restructure politics of Western Province to favor Mudavadi. This is tribalization of politics. Finally, I know they are going to reduce Raila to Nyanza so that he can only operate from Nyanza. Now, if that effort succeeds, then I think all the nationalistic political approach that had been gained in the country shall go to waste. I'm not comfortable by the way
things are looking now.
So yes, I'm not comfortable because here is a head of state who is going to bereave, mourn the fallen brother, and then he praises the brother as having, manifested the true image of Pan-Africanism. and by doing a large railway line through local funding. Went down in his own backyard, he's doing exactly the opposite. I mean, what examples are we trying to, to display to our younger generation? Is he telling us to copy Magufuli, or should we copy him as our local model? So I think somehow we are getting confused along the line.
We are losing the track. Oviembo, thank you very much. Have a lovely day.
Thank you so much, brother. Keep
All
it
right.
up. It's a good punching farm.
Asante sana. Irongo Emos.
Yes, good morning, Eric. Good morning, Indu.
Good morning.
Good morning, Irongo. How is Kisii?
We find we're doing well.
Mm-hmm.
It's raining, we're planting.
Very good.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I want to start with Didimas Barasa.
Mm-hmm.
Didimas Barasa was, strictly speaking, not elected on a UDA ticket.
Yep.
So for him to have been going around talking about UDA, campaigning for it, obviously it has been a disservice to the people who elected him. And as to whether this is the right time for him to realize that he should come back and serve the people or not, it still remains for him to choose. However, as Indu said early on, our politicians will always, I don't know whether it is our politicians or all politicians, will always go for what fits them most, where they benefit most, not on behalf of the community. So I think it is common knowledge that Didimas and many others are realizing that the wheelbarrow movement is not very, it's not very popular in their regions, and so they are coming back so that they don't lose their seats, plainly speaking. And when you look at Moses Wycliffe Musalia Mudavadi, in the year 2002, lost his seat to, who was that? It was Moses Akaranga.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then he told us that when he was actually nominated by Uhuru Kenyatta, he said he wanted to take a break. He said he had resigned from politics and he wanted to rest.
Yeah.
He hibernated, and in the year 2005, he looked for, he saw a chance in ODM, which was then opposing the constitution that was.
Yes.
And then, of course, he built himself, he joined the Pentagon, and we can see him today. Now, I can say that the time he took was longer than what Barasa is taking, but it's also true that he wanted to rebrand himself as a national image, somebody who can become a president or at least a national politician. And because Dismas Barasa is only wants to remain MP for Kimilili,
sure,
I think the time that is remaining is enough for him. Finally, allow me to say something about the time that UDA has been campaigning all along.
Yes.
In fact, as somebody has just mentioned, let us not look at UDA as a party which started the other day. Tanga Tanga has been there. UDA is William Ruto. It is Tanga Tanga. The truth of the matter is that there is something about it that has not really clicked very well amongst the main regions. Because if William had come out long time and probably resigned from Jubilee, he would have more momentum now than the one he has. That's why his people, he has never come out to say, I've moved out of Jubilee.
Yep.
He has never come out to say, I don't want Jubilee, I want this.
Yep.
He is always saying, we are working. So my reasoning is that we will see more people running away from UDA, and the political formations across the country will produce the president on account of which regions have joined. That's how our people are voting.
So it's gonna be regional alignments.
Yeah, it's going to be regional alignments. And you see, why did Mutua shy away from competing in the last minute?
Yeah.
because he did not want his party to be humiliated, and probably because he has some soft heart for BBI.
So are you
he
saying that
just
there's
wants to
already
behind.
initial failure in UDA, and so now you're going to find more and more people dumping it and moving because they've tested
Yes.
the waters and seen that they're failing already?
That is the truth. And you saw even the exchange between Mudama and the Kipchumba Murkomen. Mudama is obviously going away from Jubilee, from UDA. So there is a lot to it, and I think by around the September this year, William will be a shell of himself by way of not having strong people from across the country supporting him.
That's an interesting, interesting crystal ball. Irongo, have a lovely day.
Thank you, sir.
Okoth in Othero.
Yes, that is. May I greet you?
We greet you too, Okoth. Good morning.
And Woko.
Good morning.
Good morning to you. I wanted to contribute on this subject and go straight to the issue of Didmas Baraza. My opinion is that Didmas is maturing politically. It's maturing, and if you check his track from the beginning, he's trying to find a path politically. And that is good for him. That is so nice because at the end of it, we want someone who can continue and
so what is good? What is it that you find with Didmas Barasa's latest moves that make you be convinced that he's actually maturing politically? What has he done?
The recent moves that he made. We were reading something different from what used to happen.
Oh, we've lost the cloth. We hope we can hear from you again soon. So very many people actually are saying the kind of moves that we are seeing now in the political space are a reflection of what you expect to see in coming days. Let's just hear from Alex in Utawala as we conclude this conversation. Alex, good morning.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning.
Yeah. So about this issue, Didmas. Me, my kind of thinking is Didmas probably had some cases. And, after that by-election in Kabuchai, they were all arrested. And I'm sure there are some files that were opened there. So they were told, I'm sure he was told, you better sit down or we'll open all the files for you.
Yes.
So for that one, he had to back down. And
so you think he was coerced? This was not a move that he made because he read the sign of the times and he listened to the voice of the people.
Okay, they're trying to make some... Okay, I'd say they're trying to go back to that tribal politics where they want Mudavadi to go and be the Luya kingpin.
Who's they?
They want Kalonzo to... No, okay, I'd say the state or something. Okay, state. So they want Mudavadi to be the Luya kingpin, probably Kalonzo be the, what do you call it?
Kamba.
To be the Kamba kingpin. So they want us to go back to those tribal cocoons, right?
Had we left?
And
Had it ever... Had
we left those cocoons?
Yeah, actually, we've left. Actually, when you look at this hustler narrative, Ruto is trying to cut across the country by avoiding the tribal cocoons, That's why he's saying, hey, you can go and go back to your tribal cocoons, but me, I'll stick with the hustlers, right?
Okay.
So he wants to be with the people, and then there's another group which is sponsored by the deep state where they want us to go back to tribal cocoons, right? So that's why they want to remove everyone from Ruto's camp by opening those files the way Didmas did. Didmas, I'm sure they opened a couple of files and then he ran away. So more of those are about to come, and I'm sure Mudama is on next on the list, and more. They will just open the files and they'll run away. They leave Ruto there with the Kolika engines. They'll leave Baba there with only the Luos, and then that's when they'll do the real realignment now for 2022.
Right.
That's my thinking.
You've thought about this one well, eh?
I might be wrong though.
Mchanganuzi wa maswala ya kisiasa Alex kutoka Utawala. Thank you very much for your contribution.
You're welcome.
Asante sana. 4 minutes to 9 o'clock. Kenya's biggest conversation continues. In the next hour, we'll be talking about COVID and what's happening in the counties. What's a preparedness for dealing with this third wave of COVID-19 in the counties. You can join the conversation by switching from your TV to the FM 94.4 in Nairobi, 87.9 in Mombasa, Kisumu 102.5, Nakuru 96.0, Eldoret 96.7, Nyeri 90.9 in Nyeri and 97.7 in Malindi. The conversation continues on SpiceFM. We want to say a very big thank you to our audience on KTN Home. You join us every weekday morning, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. But this show goes on radio on SpiceFM from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Good morning.
Sugar and spice and everything nice, just the way you like it.
The Spice Drive.
Did you have a great day? I hope you did. I intend to make it better from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. I'm going to be taking you home nice and chill. Everyone is welcome aboard. The hashtag is Spice Drive and, of course, SpiceFM KE on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
The Spice Drive with Monique. The official soundtrack of getting you where you need to be. 24/7, around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM,
so
Nairobi.
Read what Alex is reading.
That he was forced out? Well, look, I think the politics in which the
I think the bigger one, and I think it's the same thing that Okoth was saying, trying to push the country to play the political chess game such that we are still talking about political formations in various regions according to ethnic groupings or regional strengths. So you say that there is this party, let's make sure that in Luhyaland, we've got a strong one or two political parties, and that's a conversation. In Ukambani, we have one or two strong political parties, and that's a conversation. In Mount Kenya, we have the same. So that now this UDA and the Tanga is then confined to one region.
It could be looking at regional strength in terms of how you're going to make that happen. Again, looking at the conversation and how it has always been around Luhya unity and how it exists or does not exist in this case. It could be the push towards that. But then again, you can never rule out personal political race for expediency. It cannot be that somebody will make a move and their personal interest is not taken into consideration. Absolutely not. Sorry. No.
Keep it right here. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room. How is COVID-19 in your county? How is the county government dealing with COVID-19? The rise in numbers. The rise in numbers is not a myth. It's actually happening. So is your county actually prepared to deal with the rising numbers? This is a conversation we're going to have in the next hour as we go to the conclusion of the show. Good morning. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room. It's now 9 o'clock.
Spice up your life. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
All right, still a little bit of that on Thika Road today, going out into the city. Not too bad though. Traffic has actually performed pretty well today, at least for the most part. We'll see some heightened levels of traffic in and outbound on Mombasa Road. Getting into the city will not be too painful. Coming off Langata Road, coming off Ngong Road, getting into the city centre via Valley Road or via Ngong Road down through Community, also looking pretty good. So we will see what it looks like through the rest of the hours of the morning. You can get in touch on SpiceFM KE on Twitter or text on 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
2 minutes after 9. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room. We are on to the fourth hour of the show. We begin at 6 a.m. We conclude at 10 a.m. every weekday morning. This morning, it's Nduoko and Eric Latif. C.T. Muga is away. He's well. He is dealing with some personal matters. Today's proverb, only a fool tests the depth of a river with both feet. Only a fool tests the depth of a river with both feet. Let's test the depth of this river.
This one is more than a river. I think it's more of an ocean now. All right. So what are we looking at the moment with COVID-19 in the country in the third wave for sure? Without a doubt, the cases that we see on a daily basis, we're now looking at an average of 1,000 cases every day. Yesterday was 1,130 cases that were recorded in the country with 12 deaths, unfortunately. The more, even with the numbers rising, and it's high numbers, right? It has never been that we've recorded these numbers in the country in this succession, even during the second wave and during the first. This is the highest for the longest period of time that has been recognized in Kenya. The more worrying numbers that we are looking at are much lower numbers. Okay? And the lower numbers that we're looking at is the very low numbers in terms of capacity of medical facilities, health facilities, hospitals in this country that is actually able to take care of the sick. Okay? In Nairobi, it is full. ICUs are full. HDU full. Today, at the moment at which we speak, if somebody is in need of critical care, intensive care, they will not be able to get a bed. Now, please understand, we're not just talking about a bed, we're talking about a bed that comes with all the facilities, ventilation, etc., to have you monitored and such.
Yeah.
It is not available today. And now, we are looking at this being the situation across the country. Most counties are ill-equipped to battle COVID-19 in the third wave of the viral attack. This is covered in the Standard today. And even as we're looking at vaccines and talk of such, the people who are sick today, unless somebody dies or recovers, will not be able to get the facility that they need to treat them. And I think we're looking at a very dire situation here. When counties are ill-equipped, when certain things had happened or certain things had been prescribed that then did not take place, in as much as we heard the CS speak about the need for counties to get prepared or certain things need to happen and that money was released, the truth of the matter is that it is not something that you can prepare for if you are in the throes of it right now.
Yep.
What are you preparing for? It's happening today. Unless you're going to get, he talked about having 1,000 beds, 1,000 new beds in the ICU and HDU category. And this is something that they had planned. It did not happen. But what are we going to do about it today? The third wave does not end at the end of these 24 hours. It's still continuing, and we're likely to see more infections as we go along. If we want to look at the picture of things right now, just the situation in some counties, according to this report, Vihiga County is unable to operationalize a 5-bed ICU due to lack of oxygen.
No oxygen.
Oxygen is the problem here. We just don't even have it. All right?
Yeah.
Kakamega County.
And this is a respiratory disease that we're dealing with.
Yes.
People
And we don't
require
have
oxygen.
Yes, we don't have. Okay.
Okay.
Vihiga County, Kakamega County has 6 operational ICU beds out of the available 16. Busia County has 4 functional. The entire county has 4 functional ICU beds. Kwale County has 10 ICU beds in several facilities. Okay? Most isolation centers in Kilifi have been closed down following the drastic drop of COVID-19 cases.
Yep.
So there was a drastic drop. and they said, okay, well, we don't need this anymore.
Let's
it's
close
done.
them
and
down
then they
for
did
now.
not operationalize them. Now, I guess in this case, they need to be rebooted in order for them to work, should they see the need for such. But the problem is that across the board today, if you have somebody who is in need of this critical care, in Nairobi, for example, you will not be able to find one. Unless, unfortunately, I mean, it sounds so morbid, but yes, unless somebody dies and it doesn't need that space anymore, or unless somebody gets better and then drops down a level in terms of care, you're not going to be able to find one. And I think it's very telling of the health system in any country, whereby you have people who are lining up for critical care and they cannot get it, and that you hope to God that nobody else gets sick, because should they get sick, you're not going to be able to care for them.
Listen to some of these testimonials. I could not find a bed in Thika for an elderly patient. Called people at a hospital in Thika. They were like, hang on, I think Thika Memorial lost a patient from HDU, so you might be able to find a bed. You go there, you don't find a bed. So it's become like those things. It's like a lottery. It's like getting complimentary tickets to a very big concert. Imagine a big artist like Beyonce is coming to Kenya, right? And people are really looking for these tickets, and there are limited number of tickets, and you're looking for the complimentary, and you are calling your friends left, right, and center. They're telling you, I know, Ndu had 3. Then you talk to Ndu, no, I gave them out. And you're looking for that. That's what it has become. And this is looking for a life-saving facility where doctors are now sharing information on various fora, not just doctors, but healthcare workers, saying, okay, this particular facility saying we lost 2 patients last night. This other one saying we lost 3. This other one saying we lost X number of patients. This is what is becoming like the continuous information. And when others hear lost 2 patients, they know 2 beds available. I have an extra number of patients here who are looking for beds. Maybe I could send them your way. I could send them your way. And you're going around and you're not finding. We're back to that position where we were last year, and we were asking ourselves, all right, so have we increased our ICU bed capacity? Yes, indeed we have. Between January last year and this time, March 2021, the number of ICU beds have obviously nominally increased.
Sure, they've increased.
That's for sure. Since the time when we saw now starting of a drop from the second wave to the first wave to second wave, was there much effort that was made to make sure that should we get another wave, we'll be better prepared?
No.
Can we see the results of that? Can we see the results of what happened between second wave and third wave in terms of preparedness? If an entire county says we do not have oxygen, we are hoping to get oxygen operational in next
April.
month, April. We are saying 10 days, if you bring any of our citizens to our facilities, they will die because they will not have oxygen.
We're not going to be able to take care of them. That's what we're saying.
This is what our government is telling you. We're not able to.
When the CS said yesterday that he had hoped that the counties would have done what they needed to do to have enough ICU beds, he said it is important for counties to show where the 300 beds are. I mean, come on, what are we talking about? Show where they are. They don't exist, one. Where are the intensive care unit beds? As far as we are concerned, the national government has assisted the counties. So national government is saying, well, we did what we needed to do. 5 billion shillings was out. And it was for the purpose of increasing the bed capacity around the counties. This was not done. And now the CS is asking the questions. What happened? Where did they go? I think it's a little bit late in the game to be asking that question. Unfortunately, what we're doing now is we're playing Russian roulette with the lives of Kenyans today. The blame game definitely is going to come up now and say, okay, well, we didn't expect that there would be a third wave. Well, all right, you had some experts who told you in December that that was going to happen. Could we have increased? Eric, could the capacity have been increased? Or was it that, well, since we don't have many cases, then perhaps we need to focus on something else? The capacity could have been increased.
Of course.
There could have been more attention that was paid to this so that people in need of... Can you imagine how heartbreaking it must be? Traversing the country with your beloved who is unwell. Getting to one facility and they tell you we have no space here. And you know that the thing that is going to potentially save the life of this person is that bed that they do not have. It's not just a bed where they're going to lie down and take a nap. It's a bed that's hooked up to a ventilator that gives them much needed support for their lungs that are currently in distress.
Yep.
This is what they need. So you go and you leave the county in order to find a bed. You don't know what's going to happen on the way.
You move from one county to the next.
You're told no until you get to another one. And they say, just like you're saying, well, we've heard that there could be one here. How about you try? You get on the road and you continue.
You go to a private facility, they tell you, okay, yes, there's a queue, but for you to join this queue, 600,000 shillings deposit.
Yes.
600,000 shillings.
And you're not assured of when you will be able to get this bed.
It's for you to join the queue.
Okay, so if you want to go lower, the least right now for an ICU bed in the country is 200,000 shillings in terms of a deposit.
Whoa.
And that's at the national hospital.
Wow.
The public hospital. 200,000 shillings. So even as you're running around looking for this ICU bed, you've got to have 200,000 shillings in your pocket. What are we talking about here? And that's at a public hospital. Let's not even go to the private facilities. That's at a public hospital. We talk about healthcare and the need to boost it over and over again as though we are singing a song and we hope that people will join the choir. It is a need. It is vital. It is important. It must be done. And my hope is that COVID would teach lessons. But unfortunately, even as we're hoping that this lesson be taught, people are dying today. People are looking for help today. People are running around from county to county looking for ICU beds today. So in as much as we can point blame and point fingers, what can be done today? We need something to be done today.
And it's the same conversation. That's why sometimes it's
tiring.
It's tiring because it's the same conversation and you always sound like you are, blasting your government. You always sound like you're just sitting there and you're criticizing, and all the work that you do and what you're very good at is to criticize.
Just criticize and
you
just
never
talk.
acknowledge and appreciate the work that we have done so far. All right. So yes, you've done quite a bit, but look, here we are today, 120 patients in ICU. These are not the total number of patients who require ICU services today.
These are COVID patients.
These are just COVID patients. There are very many others, a number of other patients who require ICU, HDU, they don't have access. Why? Because we have been caught up again where we are. When the CS, the chairman of the National Emergency Response Committee on COVID-19 asks, we gave 5 billion shillings, where are those beds? When the chairman of this committee is asking that question at this point in time, when one of his members of the committee is the chair of the Health Committee in the Council of Governors, then you ask yourself, so who exactly is in charge? Who should have the answers? This same chairman addressed the media last week after a meeting with the Council of Governors. Did he ask this question of the governors at that point? Did he say, all right, so guys, how many beds do we still have those beds? We have received reports from Kemri that we expect a third wave to come by mid-March. Have you guys prepared? Do you have the facilities in place? Do you have oxygen? Who requires oxygen right now? Who needs this, the other? There's information that there's some donor organizations that are actually willing to support the counties in terms of just acquiring and having oxygen available. What's the bottleneck? Red tape. National government, county government, who does what? Who should be receiving this donation? Then how shall we give it out? So donors are asking, so guys, you require this, we are ready to mobilize.
Your people who need it today, let's go.
Mandarins at Afya House are the ones who are sitting, okay, we could have done it. They are not doing it. We are here, we are where we are. And that's why I am not looking at anybody else. Today, I'm just focusing on Mutahi Kagwe. You're the chairman of this task force. It's not even the president. The president listens to you. You come to him and say, Mr. President, this is what we have. This is what we recommend. Let the president say no, but say, I recommend it. At this point, when we don't have beds in counties, at this point, when there are some counties that are reporting that they don't have oxygen, what is it that the National Emergency Response Committee has been doing? What's their job? How can we get to that point where people are actually basically losing life just like that, because we don't have oxygen? Because there's a third wave. And it's true, this is a serious wave, and everybody who's listening, please, we have got to take care. We've got to make sure that we do what we are supposed to do, and we all know what we're supposed to be doing. Can we do that? At the same time, can these guys tell us what they're doing?
Oh, I mean, look, Eric, I'm even asking if they can tell us what they're doing. I mean, it's clear, unless they tell us otherwise, unfortunately, nothing is happening. And here we are faced with the reality that people are going to have to limp through this wave and that we're going to be able to, get by with, a prayer and a breath. Hopefully we're getting through the third wave and those who live to tell will live to tell. And unfortunately, those whose lives will be lost. This is what we are looking at. As grim and as morbid as it sounds. Today, the situation is not going to get any better unless there is a targeted response and followed up by action about what needs to be done today. But this is what it's going to be. It's going to be a sad story told today. It's going to be a sad story told tomorrow. And then hopefully the numbers will decrease and then we can move on. It'll be that counties were ill-equipped and ill-prepared. And that hopefully when the next round comes about, things will be a little bit better. But I'm saying that that's not a good approach. It's not even a comfortable approach to take because lives are being lost right now. In the meantime, guess what? The responsibility of taking care of ourselves, the responsibility of taking care of yourself as a Kenyan then cannot be overemphasized right now. There are certain things that you can do to make sure that you are not in the line waiting for this life-saving facility. And I think that's what we need to focus on right now. While hopefully these fellas get their ducks in a row, there are certain things we can do. And what is the situation today? Walking out into the streets of Nairobi, going out and finding out what's going on in the rest of the country. Are people taking care?
No.
Are people wearing masks?
No.
Are people maintaining social distance?
Nope.
Are people washing hands and using sanitizers or doing what they can do to make sure that they are protected?
Yeah, once a day.
Once a day when you wake up in the morning.
Yes.
It's not happening. I saw a video yesterday of one of us who got into a taxi and the driver's not wearing his mask and he asked him, we need to be careful, and he said to him, hii kitu sasa ni kubaya, we need to be careful. The driver has his mask in his hand and he's saying, don't worry, I'll wear it later. And he's going about his business driving like it doesn't matter. Now you can imagine one attitude like that replicated across millions. What is going to happen? People are talking about right now, let's just hope this thing passes. Easter is coming. Let's hope that the president doesn't lock down the county so that we can travel. That's the priority.
Yeah. Because kids are on holiday and they need to go shags. They're going to be here on holiday for very long. According to the data that they have, the governors will tell us that they have 10,698 beds in isolation wards. 10,698 beds isolation.
That's not the problem. Continue, sorry.
Currently, only 1,800 of those are occupied, and we have 8,900 beds available. Okay? There are 493 ICU beds in 42 counties. 154 beds are occupied. There are 289 available ICU beds.
Where?
In the 42 counties.
It's not true. Where is this report coming
632 ventilators.
Where? Where? It's not true. Where? What are we talking about? Where is this report coming from?
This is governors.
Where? Which report? When?
Governors. The last thing that they said is from their own surveys and statistics around the country. This is what's happening.
It's not true.
This is the number of beds available.
If it was available, then why?
289 ICU beds are available. It's possible
ICU
for them to
beds.
be available.
ICU beds.
Let me show you how possible it is for them to be available. In Nandi, it has emerged an 11-bed ICU is non-operational 8 months after it was commissioned. Members of the County Assembly Health Committee, chaired by Paul Sanga, raised concern over the idle facilities at a time when the county registered 83 COVID cases on Sunday after an explosion of infections at the Kapsabet GK prison. According to Sanga, the MCA, the ICU beds are lying idle due to shortage of ICU staff, including anesthesiologists and ICU engineers, with the county requiring up to 15 ICU staff to to run the units.
Okay, so they could be selective in the
Do
information.
you now understand when I
understand.
tell you that we have 289 ICU beds available?
Okay, so when you say
Count
available,
11,
I'm sorry, but it doesn't.
Count 11 in Nandi.
No, it's not complete. But when you say that
289 minus 11,
when you say,
270. Let me give you the other
Eric, when
270.
you say that an ICU bed is available, that means that it is 100% operational, and that you have to look at everything that is required for it to operate.
No, you're
Whether it
bringing
is the
potatoes
staff,
and a
whether it
conversation
is
about
the
potatoes.
engineering. No, look, it's like saying the vaccine is here. Why didn't you get it? You need somebody who is going to remove it from its packaging
And you also need
put
a
it into the
syringe.
syringe. You need other things to make it. Without those things, it is useless. So it doesn't exist. Without those things, it's useless. It's like saying, okay, let's use your potatoes. There are potatoes on the table. There is food. Oh, okay. So am I supposed to eat it raw? It needs to be cooked. Operationalized is how it is functional. Without that operationalization, it is not functional. So it doesn't exist. We can't just be picking between. Can you imagine? Now that's what they've given as an answer. They're actually available. But then now when we dig, we realize, hold on a minute, there's nobody to operate this thing. And only certain people can operate it.
This is where now the let me just use that word. The nonsense comes in. Okay? Because if you ask the government, they'll tell you the number of ICU beds that they have across the country is 493 ICU beds. And they'll also tell you that so far only 154 of those beds have been occupied in 42 counties. So you have a surplus of ICU beds available.
Is that not what they told us?
What is this thing that you're saying? Only 120 patients are in ICU.
Is that not what they told us in Lamu last time? They said, beds. We have
beds.
Where to put them?
That's the problem.
That's a totally different story. But beds, we have. As though you were going to go and lie under the stars.
Nandi, and this is according to records in the county assembly, Nandi, the problem is the shortage. The efficiency of the health department has been derailed by a lack of staff at ICU department since it was launched. Now that we're in the midst of the ravaging pandemic, the equipment could have served residents in case of adverse infections. So they have the facility. They have 11 ICU beds. They do not have anesthesiologists.
So
and
they
that's
don't
what
have the
Dr.
beds.
Simon Kegondu was telling us yesterday. When they tell you they have beds, bed is nothing.
That's what I'm saying.
Bed requires the personnel who
Voila.
know how to use the bed. And the ICU experts, anesthesiologists, you need the engineers who know how to run these machines. You need to actually have the equipment in that. So it's not 11. Nandi does not have. So let's say Nandi, 0. Okay? Tinderet MCA Kipkirui Chepkwani revealed that shortage of ICU staff has rendered the facility non-operational, thus forcing residents to seek ICU facilities in private hospitals in Eldoret.
So Tinderet, public
This
0.
is something that we are directly reporting here from our team on the ground. Mutahi Kagwe is asking, where did they take the money? This is a question that Mutahi Kagwe could be receiving if he just asked his officers on the ground, do we have this? Do we not have this? In Muranga, there are 5 COVID-19 patients at the Muranga Critical Care Center, while another 9 are in isolation. Muranga last year commissioned a 35-bed ICU center that was constructed in 21 days under the supervision of the personnel. County Health and Sanitation Executive Joseph Mbai said the ICU facility has been a blessing to the locals. Majority of the patients who have used our ICU center are from other counties. They did 35 ICU bed capacity. They have utilized it. Let's go to Meru County with a population of 1.5 million people. 9 ICU beds in public hospitals, 5 others at the Keira Mission Hospital that is run by the Catholic Diocese. According to the Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe, who was to launch the Meru ICU and HDU on Sunday, all engagements involving the Governor Kiraitu Morongi were suspended because the Governor was undergoing treatment for COVID-19. Nyeri Governor Mutahi Kahiga has suspended all county government meetings, trainings, and any other form of public gatherings for the next 30 days. This is largely attributed to recent laxity in adherence by what is happening there. Okay. In Baringo, most patients are under home-based care, according to county epidemiologist Robert Rono. The county has 70 isolation beds at Mogoti Hospital, 8 ICU beds. The ICU beds are at Mogotio and Kabarnet. In Kiambu, Governor James Nyoro announced that the Tigoni Level 4 hospital was being reserved for COVID-19 isolation as health facilities in the area continue to report increased cases. Some counties, some things are happening. Other counties, we just are ticking the boxes and saying, yeah, we are prepared. So here we are. And that's why we said This story by Dr. Mercy Korir and her team of the Health and Science Desk of the Standard Group today is absolutely brilliant. It starts by saying, Kenyans are on their own as they face the third wave of COVID-19 pandemic. This is if the situation at this Kangundo level for hospital in Machakos County is a reflection of the country's public health system. And that hospital is where somebody went seeking treatment. They were told, my friend, come with gloves, come with mask. Because healthcare workers need gloves, need masks, they don't have.
We're still talking
and then
about
they went and
PPEs.
were told, you need painkiller, diclofenac. Go and buy.
No, sorry. Where?
Abadu, Oba, Masako. Oba, Masako.
Unbelievable. What are we talking about? So, if you don't have painkillers and you don't have gloves and face masks, is it ventilator that you think they're going to get for you?
Yeah.
Or they're going to suddenly hire an engineer to operate this ventilator that's needed at the bed? What are we talking about? It's sometimes my brain sometimes feels like it's going to combust when I think about these things. And I say, yeah, we have an opportunity to be able to make things right. And we just don't take advantage of it because it's a wave, right? It's a wave. And naturally, a wave will get its high and then it'll ebb and get its lows and then it'll disappear. And unfortunately, that's how we are dealing with these issues. Let's just ride it out. Let's get by, see what we can do through the wave. See, it'll disappear after some time and then we'll be fine. Then we'll be able to catch our breath. If another one comes, maybe we can plan for it. It doesn't happen. Get it right the first time. So that when a wave comes, whether it comes or not, you'll be able to deal with it. You'll be able to deal with it. And look, isn't it shameful, some of the examples that are being given today? That, yeah, we have beds, but we don't have engineers. Today, we're still talking about this same thing. When we were told before, governors told us that across counties, health workers have all that they need to be able to take care of the sick when they come. And then now we're being told, you need to go buy your own medication. We don't have gloves and face masks for you as health workers.
Yep.
We'll figure out something as we go along. Russian roulette, Kenyan lives, one in the chamber. Let's hope it doesn't hit. That's how we're dealing with it.
This is what's happening at the Ministry of Health. So as we talk about all those things, the headline in the Star today is Vaccine Scandal, Rogue Staff Selling COVID-19 Jabs.
I'm not laughing. But sometimes.
It has now emerged that some facilities are administering the jab to friends and relatives, with some said to be doing so at a fee. Hundreds of people, many well connected, have been given the coronavirus vaccination before it was their turn in what could be a new scandal. Some rogue health facilities have been administering the COVID-19 vaccine to people not eligible for the phase 1 priority list. Some of the beneficiaries have had to pay for the jab, which the government is giving free of charge to frontline workers. So there are some people who are basically, the order of vaccination is clearly regulated by the Ministry of Health. The first people, medics, teachers, non-teaching staff, police, armed forces, those working in the ports of entry are to be vaccinated first. But in the last few days, all manner of people, including businessmen, politicians from around the country, have found their way and received the jab early.
They're paying for it. They're paying for a jab that is free, but because you want to get it today,
yes,
you pay for it. And there's some folks who realize, hold on a minute, I can make a quick buck here. I can sell this thing to these guys and they're willing to pay some money for it. Why not? Can you imagine? Somebody said, by the way, a few weeks ago when this vaccine landed, somebody said here,
watch out.
New
scandal, imagine.
And see. New scandal coming out.
When he was confronted with this information yesterday, the health seer says those carrying out the vaccinations will have to give an account of all the doses that they have and they have to be matched to available persons. He noted that some facilities were turning away staff and healthcare workers because people are going to health facilities where they don't work. But he said any eligible person can turn up in any designated vaccination center, get the vaccine for free. That is what should be happening.
Okay.
Anything else that you're hearing out there is on the stories.
Okay.
9:30. We want to hear from you now. 0719-012-600. So, do you feel like you're on your own in the fight against COVID-19? This time, third wave. That's a headline. Number 2, let's talk about vaccines and vaccination. Have you heard of anybody who is actually going and getting a vaccine and they're not a healthcare worker, frontline worker, teacher, non-teaching staff, security personnel? Have you heard of someone who's like that, who says that they have been able to buy a vaccine? Let's hear from you. Also across the counties, what is your experience? Have you heard of somebody who is looking for a health facility in this time of COVID-19, looking for a bed where they can get supplemental oxygen or intensive care services, and they've been unable to get? Let's hear from you. 9:30. Let's take a look at the traffic and the weather, and then we'll pick your calls.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah!
You're listening to Spice FM.
Have you seen them? Am I lying?
Yes, it's a very nice outfit, I must say. Good
Thank
job.
you.
Asante sana.
The compliment is well received.
Good morning and thank you. Everyone in Wasingishu was asking me what channel is Spice FM.
96.7. Tell them that, right?
Yes, now they know.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Pleasure to have
What
you.
a beautiful studio, my friend.
I've been to other radio stations, but I've never seen anything like this.
Thank you, and it's very nice to be in a modern studio. Absolutely brilliant.
And I have to say, it's a very cool ambiance here in your radio room. Just for our listeners, I think it is below zero in this room here. Very Swiss temperatures.
The weather with Spice FM.
It's 20 degrees in Nairobi this morning, warming up ever so slightly to 26 today. Coming down to lows of 16. Nyeri at 17 is still raining, highs of 24 and lows of 13. Sunny conditions in Nakuru at 19, highs of 27. We'll see highs of 26 in Eldoret. It's partly sunny at 19 and it's mostly cloudy in Kisumu at 25, highs of 31 and lows of 19. Kakamega is mostly sunny at 24, highs of 33, lows of 15, and 26 will be the low in Mombasa, where it's partly sunny at 30. 30 also in Malindi, going to highs of 33. 23 in Kampala and mostly sunny, highs of 27 and lows of 18. It's 29 and mostly cloudy in Dar es Salaam. It'll go to highs of 32. 23 the high in Johannesburg. Light rain right now at 13. It's still raining in Lagos at 25. Highs of 30 and lows of 26. Mostly sunny conditions in Kinshasa at 25. Highs of 31, lows of 25. We're looking at warm conditions in Beijing today at 23. It's going to come down to a low of 8. 1 degree in Paris. It's sunny, however. Highs of 14 and lows of 4. Partly sunny in London at 5. Highs of 13 and lows of 7. And clear conditions now in New York coming into Tuesday morning. Highs of 17 and lows of 9.
Spice up your life.
All right, so traffic situation outbound on Mombasa Road is a bit slow this morning. Folks are having to use Enterprise Road. Remember, the turning at the GM will not happen, so you either keep going straight and come do the turnaround, or turn left towards Enterprise Road on Mombasa Road today. There's an option for you to get out. The Likoni interchange also quite heavy this morning, going towards the southern bypass. Also a little bit of traffic just at the bridge outbound. It should be better. Getting to the Nyeri Stadium roundabout, also that is slow as you go out towards the CBD and then out towards Westlands. It's going to take some time to get out of this one, but other than that, I think traffic has behaved relatively well this morning, especially coming off Kiambu Road. Coming off Thika Road into the CBD, I think we should have not too difficult a time this morning. Keep an eye on things. Let us know also what you see. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text on 40127.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. Spice FM.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4.
25 minutes to 10. Do you feel that your county is adequately prepared to deal with this third wave of COVID-19? Do you feel like your county is adequately prepared to deal with this third wave of COVID-19? We're seeing the number of cases increasing. We are seeing the number of people who require hospitalization also increasing. More than 120 people currently in ICU. That means there are more people, 1,000 other people in health facilities around the country. Lydia in Parklands, good morning.
Good morning, SpiceFM. Thank you for this important subject. Now, I always believe for many years in self-help. The health book says when you wake up, drink hot water followed by fruits and vegetables like cucumber, tomato, whatever, to enter into the bloodstream first as natural vitamins to make our blood cells healthy. Now, this video impressed me. This lady said that Cameroon, the coronavirus in Cameroon has overtaken their country. And she said she had coronavirus and she was unable to breathe. So she saw in the social media how to cure herself. She said that they said take a red onion, slice it and chop it into pieces. And then she said she showed a cotton glove that could take the juice of the cotton of the onion. She cut the onion to slices, chopped them into pieces, and filled her cotton cloth glove with it. And then crushed it with stone or a rolling pin and placed it on her chest.
Sounds like that requires to basically just look at the video. But just to be on topic, Lydia,
So
do you think, just to bring you back to topic, do you think that the counties are adequately prepared to deal with this third wave? Remember, there was a first wave, second wave. Now we are in the third wave. Do you think we are going to handle it much better than we did the first two?
They have their duties and they have their records to give us. But self-help should come first.
That's true.
Now this lady said
That's true. Let's hear from Karanja in Naivasha. Good morning, Karanja.
How are you, sir, Eric?
Hello.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning, madam. How are you?
I'm very well, sir.
Yes, the thing is, they are telling us there are enough beds for isolation, ICU beds, and so many. And nothing like that are there. In fact, there was a friend of mine who is a journalist in my neighbor in Nyeri County here, just across. And he is telling me, when you go there are no beds. They leave that in the county there. Another thing is that the corona is here. We don't have isolation rooms. We don't have oxygen. We don't have ventilation. Isn't it? So, you yourself, let us tell the Kenyans the truth that you yourself, if you are infected by corona, you treat yourself at your own cost. The government will not come there to facilitate for you.
Sure.
You are the one to facilitate for yourself. Isn't it? Another thing, in the country that I am in, there are no beds. Nothing is happening, my friend, in the ground. Let me tell you.
In Naivasha, there are no beds.
There are beds, but they are already full. They are already filled with some patients. Yes, it is full. So when you are told that the counties are prepared for the coronavirus, for the cases of coronavirus, nothing like that. Yesterday you had the CS for the health saying he has seen people in Bagavi screaming, screaming to get some this what he calls
vaccine.
The vaccine. Yes. So. What do you think? This is very alarming, given the fact that people now they have to survive for their own.
That's true. Thank you very much, Karanja.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much, Eric.
Asante.
Have a lovely day.
You too.
Man. Yeah, thank you.
Brian in Nairobi.
Yes.
Good morning.
How are you guys?
Good
morning. Well.
Yeah. I think it's surprising because since the first case of corona in Kenya 1 year ago, the president himself had a meeting with governors, and they told us they have set aside some funds. Even the counties, they slashed some of their budgets
Right.
so that they can prepare for this thing.
Mhm.
They did took some money from other votes in their counties to prepare for
For
COVID.
this, yes.
Even the loans we're incurring as a country, most of them is because of COVID, and its preparedness. So it is surprising that these monies did not go to do the right thing. I was in Nyandarua the other day, and I was told by the locals there's some day the minister went to do his routine briefing on the COVID in Nyandarua. I was told the governor took the beds from other hospitals and brought it to where the CS was. And CS thought everything was okay. Nyandarua has capacity to deal with the things. But immediately he left, the beds were removed and they were taken to their respective hospitals. Again, my wife is a doctor. And I was asking her, how comes we have this little number of ICUs in the country? Why don't you, with your doctor friend, invest in such ventures? But they told me, you see, setting up an ICU is very expensive. And what happened at most, less than 30% of patients in ICU survive.
Wow.
So mostly they don't pay the bills. So as much as it looks like a lucrative venture, they'll end up incurring losses because people won't pay that amount of money. And most of them don't have insurance. So I think the government should not take us for a ride. The president promised us universal health care. And that one is a low-hanging fruit since we have NHIF on board. If we utilize the money NHIF collects a year, we should not be having these things. Because now NHIF is a cash cow for those politicians. You've seen with KEMSA, people walking in and coming out with contracts. People who've never supplied, never did nothing. We saw Jubilee first term. There was a healthcare scandal. What the president did is just transfer the minister to another docket. There was a time some containers were bought at a cost of 10 million per container. We've never seen them anywhere. So I think we need to ask this government some questions because they cannot take the lives of Kenyans for granted.
Right.
That's indeed the truth.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Brian. 0719-012-600. Do you feel if your county is well prepared to deal with this third wave of COVID-19, the rising numbers? Some comments on social media.
Sure. Shirage says, the COVID situation in Kenya, we as citizens create our own solutions. Let's people isolate in our homes, flats and apartments. Let's emphasize on healthy eating and importance of exercising and also fasting. We shall overcome, according to Shirage. Victor Chi says, I don't think counties are ready to handle it. I'm still tuned in from Kisumu. And according to him, not. Laban says, not really. Johanna says, please, can the government and the CS of Health tell us, its citizens, how our country and counties are handling this third wave? Now, the big question is, as our president received the vaccine, we are in the dark over this. And the question is, how can we actually deal with this?
Dr. Mike in Nairobi, good morning.
Hi, how are you?
Good
Very
morning.
Great. Now, when was it? Sometime this week.
Yes.
We are just 2 days into the week.
Yes.
We're looking at Sunday. We had there's a patient who had to be moved to Eldoret from Nairobi.
What?
Because that's where the bed, a COVID bed was found. An ICU bed.
This is an ICU bed.
One. That is it, what does that come to tell us? The third wave has come. It's here with us and with a serious vengeance. You do not want to be caught out by any ailment that will require you to have an ICU bed. Because as it is, we are running on a negative. The whole of Nairobi County. And you see, it is coming with in a very interesting way. We are seeing patients. You see, initially you would suspect you have it by just a sore throat, lack of taste, lack of smell, fevers and all that. Right now it's coming as gastritis. Somebody is diarrheaing and it's already COVID. So by the time we are getting to know it's COVID, the lungs are collapsed.
So,
totally
because we've seen a number of these cases, Dr. Mike, somebody is actually going with bad stomach to a hospital, and the tests that are being done are for amoeba, and then you're told you have amoeba.
That's basically what it is. The virus is coming with very interesting traits, very funny clinical presentations.
Yeah.
In fact, we have quite a number of patients who are testing negative with classical symptoms. Okay, with the core symptoms that you actually clinically say this is a COVID case. But now they'll test negative with the swabs. So, but later on, as the disease progresses and you find that the patient is deteriorating, you do a repeat test to find out it's positive. But what did the patient come with? Other symptoms. In fact, in China right now, I don't know whether you've seen it somewhere, there's a paper that came that they are using rectal swabs now to actually test for COVID. This is a very novel virus that no one in the world is prepared for. But come back home, are we prepared? No.
We're not.
We are not prepared.
We're not.
If it gets to a point that you'll have to transfer a patient from Nairobi, the capital,
to Eldoret,
where we have a single bed, a single one, not like they have available beds.
Nothing.
A single bed just came, and you see. In fact, there is a friend of mine who actually had those symptoms, serious breath issues. His oxygen levels were so low I think at 50%. And no ambulance would take him because there was no bed available in the whole of Nairobi County and its environs, Kiambu, you look at Makueni, Machakos, there was no bed. Fine, you might tell us we have beds, but who will man these beds?
Yeah,
exactly.
We don't have people to man.
Yeah.
So we're not raising a false alarm here or trying to be excited about a matter. We're talking about the real situation on the ground, as bad as it actually is.
In fact, if the real situation on the ground is reported as is, we would really put people on a frenzy that it will be very unhealthy for the nation and psychologically for the people around, for the citizens generally.
Right.
If the situation is reported as is in terms of, the infections and the waiting and the situation on the ground, your prayer item every morning, Eric, would be, let not any of my people need an ICU bed or even just an admission in any hospital because the system is so stretched to a point. Personally, I've never practiced in such a situation.
Wow.
It is that bad. And we are waiting for now the strain in Europe to come and find us here.
And do more things.
And that strain, from what I hear, this is not confirmed. It looks like the current vaccine regimen we have may not have proper efficacy again. As it is, some countries in Europe are on lockdown, true?
Yes.
So, what I'm saying, I'm not raising any alarm. I'm just saying as
a note of caution.
Things are bad. Let people sanitize, keep their social distance, do just the basics. Let's go back to the basics of just sanitize. Just have your mask on. Keep your social distance. Travel when it's absolutely necessary. Just remain within the confines of the protocols provided.
That's very true. Nikubaya. Thank you, Dr. Mike. Thank you very much. Let's hear from Constant in Nairobi. Good morning.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you guys?
We're well.
All right.
Good to hear. There's some reality we just have to face.
Yeah.
And I think you guys have said it many times. We just have a culture of eating.
Yeah.
And now, whenever you hear some so-called good news, some development somewhere, some bed somewhere, you still have to ask yourself, okay, so who? It's like you have to ask yourself, who is gaining from
who's eating that? Who's eating from
exactly,
this?
And what's the scandal we are going to hear from there?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's the reality we have in the country at the moment. Because as it is, we've almost abandoned constitutionally. We are supposed to have, for instance, special plans for counties that take into consideration all these services. But we're not seeing that. Okay, we talked about hospital beds last year. Now even just hospitals or clinics or whatever. So the unfortunate reality is that we are facing something that was inevitable from the culture we have built up over time.
What do we do then, Constant?
I think we continue making noise the way we are making.
All right.
The way you guys are doing a good job, speaking out. And we continue, we've got more than enough advocates for good governance. Well,
we've got a
number of advocates for good governance, keeping on whistleblowing, demanding in one way or another.
Yeah.
We can never, it's obvious, we should not give up, obviously.
Thank you.
Everybody in their own space, in their own neighborhood, in their own community, to try to provide whatever positive contribution they can. And slowly we could get somewhere. I've seen a lot of success for instance, slowly we began to see success in non-motorized transit, walking and cycling infrastructure in the city.
Yes.
It's taken years, but we're getting there.
It's getting there.
Okay. And I guess, we can also look at it from that perspective. The health advocates will continue, they can't give up. And you won't end up with an ultimate solution overnight, but you gain a few steps slowly. And
that's true.
And you move upwards in one way or another.
Sure.
The third thing, obviously, is there are obviously those distractors will take you backwards as they eat and fill their stomach. But we just have to continue.
Soldier on. That's very true.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Constant.
You're welcome.
Asante. John in Elbagon.
Morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, they say when the tides go down, when who has been swimming naked.
Sure.
So I think now the tides have gone down, and we know we have all been swimming naked.
Yes.
When the first time I went to a computer class, I was told a computer has two components.
Yeah.
A hardware and a software.
Yeah.
So if you bought a hardware without a software, you have done nothing. So when somebody says that a hospital has an ICU bed, that is just a hardware. You might have an ICU bed hardware, but do you have the software? Do you have the people to man that bed? Do you have the nurses to take care of those people? Do you have the doctors to take care of those patients? And I think that's what the most of the counties did. And of course, people are making money out of this.
They just bought the beds and that was it.
And that was it.
Yes, they bought the hardware.
Tick the
they
box.
Bought the hardware. Yes, you tick the box. And then you pass the message to Mr. Cargo, we have 10 ICU beds.
Yes.
But you have the people to man those beds. Yeah. And
Clearly
sometimes
not.
just,
but also, at the same time, John, the person who's being given this report, and this is the CS for health.
Yes.
He's got the Director General of Health who understands what it means to say, I have an ICU bed. Does the Director General of Health ask? The Cabinet Chief Administrative Secretaries, two of them in the Ministry of Health, are actual doctors. Dr. Mercy Mwangangi, Dr. Rashid Aman. Do they ask those questions?
For follow-up?
Yes.
Because it's absolutely necessary to be done. Are they asking these questions?
That's what you ask yourself those questions and you wonder. And some things, even before you even talk of the doctors, even Mr. Kagwe, we are no doctors here, but we know what an ICU, what is required of an ICU bed. But as you said, I agree with you. Those two doctors who are there, Dr. Monson and the rest, are they asking? They are saying they have ICU bed. Do they have the facilities?
Do they have the facilities? Do they have the
And
workers?
sometimes it's just to think outside the box. You don't have to do so much to man an ICU bed. I can give you a quick example. In Ethiopia, sometimes back they realized that there were so many mothers who are dying during childbirth. And they discovered that training a doctor is going to be very difficult. It takes long.
Yep.
So they started a program of training nurses and clinical officers to do CS.
Sure.
So it is not done by the doctors. Because now there are so many nurses all over and there are so many CS who have been just specifically to do CS. And they say it reduced that child mortality, maternal mortality by 65% in southern Ethiopia. You can Google that. So sometimes we just think outside the box. It is 1 year since COVID came. We could have already started training ICU nurses. Because, an ICU nurse is a specialized nurse. It's not like a nurse like any other nurse.
Exactly.
They could have started training ICU nurses. That's 1 year ago. By now, they would have been graduating, or at least at a point where they can run an ICU.
You're absolutely right.
We wait until things go out of hand, and then it's sometimes annoying. It's very annoying.
It is it is completely disheartening.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, John.
Yes. Thanks.
Let's hear from Wenda in Mombasa. Good morning.
Morning. How are you guys?
Good morning, Wenda.
When I see what's happening and I listen to your show, and I'm a long-time listener, I wonder how bad will it get as a country before we do something about it. I was reading about Lebanon yesterday, where the cost of food has gone up by 400%. 50% of the population has been sunk into poverty because of poor economic policies and a disaster. This is very similar to Kenya. And people in Lebanon never thought this would happen to their country because they thought they were special. Do we also have the same things going on in our mind, thinking that this can never happen to us because we are special? And what happens when it gets that bad? How will we survive? It seems like sometimes we're walking into a disaster and we're seeing it happen, and there's nothing we can do about it.
Just keep going.
Yes, we talk the right thing. We know what's happening. We see what's going on, but we're just walking right into that disaster.
With our eyes open.
With our eyes open, with the knowledge of the past. And with the knowledge of other countries that have been in similar situations.
It's really disheartening, and it's really, really getting to a point where you ask yourself, what am I missing here?
Why can't it be done?
What am I missing? Maybe there's something I'm missing. There's something I should know that I don't know.
And it seems so obvious.
Yeah, it seems very obvious. Thank you very much, Mwenda, for your contribution today.
No problem.
Have a
Thanks,
lovely
Mwenda.
day.
Have a
Thank
good
you for
day.
calling.
Bye.
Kamiri Njoroge says,
You will be a fool to listen to our politicians, Kenyans, Mujipange. If there are any beds, ziko na yenyewe.
Ziko na wenyewe. If there are any beds,
They're not for you.
they're not for you. Ziko na wenyewe. Already. So, the situation is dire. Dr. Mike has just said, and this is a doctor who's practicing, and he says, look, let's just go back to the basics. Do what you need to do.
The very simple.
Save yourself, save those that love you, save those that you love, okay? Make sure that you observe physical distancing, avoid travel and interaction as much as possible up to the absolute necessary. Make sure in those cases that you have masking up. If you can even use a face shield, go ahead and use a face shield. Wash your hands, sanitize as often as possible. That is the message. That's the only thing that we can do. Yeah. And as for the Council of Governors, that's going to tell us about their beds.
They should not tell us, Abeg. We already know. It's okay.
We will tell you about that tomorrow. We'll be discussing this. Those numbers. We'll be discussing them tomorrow.
They'll tell us today, right?
Oh, yes. You'll be discussing them tomorrow. You'll hear. And the Ministry of Health will tell us about how prepared they are, how well they are in coping with this thing. Anyway, today's proverb, only a fool tests the depth of a river with both feet. Now, if you are not a fool, please stop testing this river.
With both feet.
It is raging. Don't even put one finger or toe into this particular river. It is raging. It is seriously, seriously strong. COVID-19 is real. It's right here with us in the country. Do all you can to take care of yourself, take care of your loved ones. And the event that you need to go to a hospital, we wish you all the best. May you get well. This is Kenya's Biggest Conversation. Thank you very much for tuning in. Monique comes in at what time?
3 o'clock.
And then Barbara comes in at what time?
7 o'clock.
And then we come back at what time?
6 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow morning. Now until then, or in between, it's music. Uninterrupted music. Good morning. It's now 10 o'clock. Have a lovely day.